Yeah. So we're out here at Geeky Villain today, as you probably realized, and we're going to do a box opening, Opus 5, talk about some of the cards.
6.
Opus 6. And we'll talk about some of the cards, what we like, what we don't like, and then Drew will probably say some silly jokes that nobody likes.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
So Steve here's going to open the box because Furion, for some reason, is his favorite Final Fantasy character. So.
It is. From FF2.
Yep. So crack it open.
Alrighty. So the box is actually shiny this time around.
Yeah, it is opalescent, so it's pretty cool.
This is...
Yeah, there's a lot of protection.
Wow.
No, he got it, man. He's gonna.
That's what I was saying wow about.
Yeah. Wow! What a
wow!
What an opening.
I was impressed with how.
Yeah, I got
how
it.
much you got it.
Okay, I got it.
So we're gonna be reviewing the cards. We'll talk about them for limited and constructed.
Yep, and we're gonna try to get everything as right as possible, but nothing's guaranteed at this point.
Yeah.
All the cards are still fairly new. So I'll let Miles
let's crack a pack.
some packs open.
The packs are also quite shiny, good quality. Another thing we always love about the game is the card quality. So first up, our first hero is Kurasame. I particularly like this card. I had it in our pre-release, and it was really strong for me. Obviously, the backup is quite expensive that he plays. I don't know if we got one in this pack. We didn't. But the good thing about it is his backup kills something. It does 10,000 damage to adult forward when it comes into play, which is quite strong. He also costs 5, which is kind of a problem, because if you play this turn 2 and you get it, you have to discard 2 more cards to play that second turn.
Yep.
And then you have 2 backups, this guy, and you'll kill the other guy, which is decent, but it's not a great starting board because he's pretty susceptible to getting killed. So you probably want to play him off 3 backups is probably a better setup, because then you can play the other guy off 3 backups, and that's kind of a good turn. I think in Constructed, if Ice is still a prominent deck, he's kind of an Ice mirror match breaker, because all your guys are just better than all their guys. So I think Ice decks that run this might do well, even though it's not great against some other decks. They win the mirror match. So, and limited, you play it if you can grab the other card kind of by default.
Yeah, there should be a lot of Kazusas in there too, because Kazusas is rare, I believe. So you should get at least 1 or 2.
So next up we have Chocomog. Drew, you could get rid of those for us, bro. So Chocomog, really awesome looking card. I really like the design on it. Amazingly costed at 1 with EX Burst. So basically, if there are Moogles or Job Chocobos you want to grab for Wind, you play it because it just nets you a mana essentially, right? Even if you are going to discard the card. The problem is this game's the way they do jobs is kind of randomized. So most Chocobos are not Job Chocobo. Only Giant Chocobo and Black Chocobo from Final Fantasy V.
Fat Chocobo and
can be grabbed with this.
Yeah, I think the 3-drops a lot of them are standard units, I believe.
They're all standard units. So you can only grab those 2 Chocobos, which is unfortunate. He can't. His is summoned from Final Fantasy VII, but he can't grab any Final Fantasy VII Chocobos. But it's still a good card. Problem is, Moogles don't really run Wind as a primary color, so it's a bit problematic for them. But if you're Wind and you want those cards, you'll be playing this card. So it's a very interesting card. And limited, I don't think you're really probably going to play it too much.
Limited sucks.
So here we got a backup.
This is a really good card.
This is a Final Fantasy X character. Hangs out on the high wind. He's in Al-Bhed, and so he's a 4-drop backup with EX Burst, which is good. The really good backups that have this ability cost 4. He costs 1 more. I'm not really sure why some cost 4 and some cost 3. It seems kind of random.
I think it's because this one has an EX Burst, right?
But the standard unit one and the Dragoon ones cost 3.
And they have EX Bursts.
And they're 3-drops?
Yes, yes, sir. So I think it's a little weird. I don't know why Gold Wing is more, damaging of an effect.
I don't know, but all I do know is that there's a 10 Searcher that is a 3, which is Brother, but he's not an EX Burst, right? So this one's an EX Burst, but it searches for a specific Gold Wing.
Yeah. So you play it in a Gold Wing deck if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you probably just play 1 or 2. You wouldn't play 3. You have a 4-drop backup, probably, unless it's really good. For limited, you play this if you have 1 Gold Wing, I think.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 Gold Wings, you auto-play it. So I think, that's pretty much that card's value. So next up, we have Goblin. It's really efficient, costs 2, power it for 0. That's a theme in this set. There's a bunch of monsters. They cost 0 to activate, which is good. It makes them more efficient.
Screwed me in my game.
they're harder to interact with on your opponent's turn. A lot of their, deals damage stuff they can't play on their turn. So like in limited things like that, I think it's Neo Bahamut, pretty much can't kill monsters, which is a big downside for it. But what does this do? Is it worth playing? It becomes a 5,000 creature for 2. That's fine. You're not like impressed, but it's fine. When it attacks, it gets to do 1 damage. So it's a decent little attacker. I think in limited you can play this card. I've passed up playing it so far in my events. Mostly because I would just rather have like a 7k body with like any ability. But if you have enough little tricks and stuff and you think you can take advantage of that 1000 power, it goes up in value quite a bit. In Constructed, there's Godot from Final Fantasy 13, who would give him plus 2000 power, which makes him a lot better. There's a lot of 2-drops now, so maybe Godot's a better card. Windfire might be a thing, so possibly, but I'm not super jazzed on this card, but it does have some potential. And it costs 1 less with Mira, is something to consider.
Yes.
So here is Bahamut. So this is it's an EX burst. Costs 4, does 10,000 damage, which is normally enough to kill a thing. Downside is you have to take a real damage from yourself, and you can't EX burst off of that. And there's no really good way to prevent it. It's just going to happen. I don't know why Red has to have 2 downsides to do 10,000 damage for 4. I feel like if it just did 4 for 10, it'd be perfectly fine for the meta. It would help Red out. I even think if it was 4 for 10 for X Burst, it would be a very good card, but it wouldn't be broken. It would just be very good.
I mean, it can be a legend or something. Even 5-drop for 110k, I mean, that's not bad. It's add an EX Burst on it and make it a legend card.
So I don't think this card's probably going to see constructed play unless Red is just very aggressive that they can afford this, which I don't think is the state of their card pool. But if so, you could run one of these. I have ran an Ice Fire deck with Terra, Light Terra, who searched out a lot of summons so I could run kind of toolbox stuff. So maybe it's a toolbox target there when you really need 10. But I found the other Bahamut's better because the RFG is quite effective. Gets rid of Renoa or get that Emperor out forever so they can't miner it back. I don't think it'll see a lot of constructed play.
I don't either.
In Limited, you kind of run it because you either discard it to play your backups or, hey, you got damage if you really need it. Guy played it against me, and I used the Leviathan summon to counter it, which I was pretty. And he lost because of that. So I was pretty stoked about that play.
I don't know. In Limited, I feel like it's really bad too because I mean you're only doing. You can only get dealt 6.
That's true, but I mean, if you need it, you need it. So this card's really bad. It's probably not going to see any play. It's really cute, so if you're building a deck where cute matters, don't play it also. So, I mean, 2-drop backups are inherently of value because you're paying on cost for them. So basically, instead of you can pay 1 for an Invoker or pay 1 more, and then you can give plus 1,000 power to your Crystal Chronicles forwards, which are like Leo, Maria, and stuff you're probably not playing. So if you have a Crystal Chronicle character in your sealed deck, sure, play it. You're going to play it. You don't get a lot of card options in this game anyway with the number of packs they give us for a limited, so you're just going to play it. But otherwise, I don't think this is a thing. You can't play Crystal Chronicle in title at the moment, I don't believe.
It's just Desadia that I thought.
No, that's not the
the rule.
No. There's certain titles that don't have enough cards; they literally can't be
I see what
played.
you're saying.
So this is what we were talking about earlier. This is a 3-drop EX Burst Search for Standard Units card. This card's very good. It will be played in any green deck that cares about standard units, which is a color that cares about them because Chocobos are standard units, and the Ranger, who can't be interacted with, has hexproof. He's a standard unit. Arc deals with standard units. So this card's very good. It will see a lot of play. You almost always run this card in limited, even if you're not green, because it lets you draw a card as a backup. So this is just a very simple, very good card. It's kind of end of story there. You're happy with that. So this is a Final Fantasy 14 LOL Dragoon. Any Dragoon fans out there, don't get mad at me. I'm a Dragoon player myself, but we can say it. It's our word, so we can say it. I mean, you play it in limited. It's 4 and it's 8, and it might help you attack. Probably more times than not, you're not going to get value after the gift for strike ability, but it's a 4 for 8. So
on curve.
You just play it. It's not going to see play in the Dragoons deck. It's just not good enough. So it's really just a limited card, but cool looking, decent limited card. You know, he's in his relic armor. And, ooh, got a foil. I'm going to keep this one because I need it. So this is Rajan. He's from, is that not how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay. He's from Final Fantasy VIII. He's a very important job type, disciplinary committee member, which is an important type to have in this game.
So.
Yeah. So he gives Cypher haste automatically and is a 2-drop backup. That's good because the new Cypher is quite a strong card.
Yeah, it's a really good card.
The new Cypher, if you don't know, costs 3, and if it interacts in combat, it gets to give anything you want minus 2,000 power, which is really good because you can throw it off somewhere else and play the Diablos to shrink them or whatever. Also, Cypher, if he hits them, does minus 2,000, like a little Cyclops to their whole board. Yeah. So he's a very good card. Him having haste is quite strong, especially if you play him off Alcid, then attack. If you did 6,000 to the creature, they really can't block with Cypher anymore, so they have to take it. So then you can proc that little Cyclops if you want to do some extra madness.
Anyway.
And yeah, it's a pretty solid card. It has a special ability, which doesn't require any mana, so that's good. And it's named Rajan Special quite creatively. And you get to choose one active 4. That's kind of the downside of dealing damage with lightning cards. They normally have to be active, things you're killing. And it lets you do 8,000 damage, which just sounds really good, but there's a downside. You have to have Cypher in play, and then Fusion, who is the other card that interacts with Cypher, part of his little work for a Dia gang in the game. So I think this is a good card that we'll see play as long as Cypher will see play.
Yeah.
In Limited, you probably play it because it's a 2-drop backup, and if you have a Cypher, great. But you probably just play it as a bad 2-drop backup when you need it. Yeah. And if you don't, you'll know you don't, so it's kind of obvious there.
Off to the side.
Yeah, it's fine. So another Final Fantasy VIII. We got Diablos. He's been in other games now, but he first appears in 8. So this card's quite good in Limited.
It's really good.
You pretty much always play this if in Draft. In Sealed, you mostly always play it. Because in Sealed, the draft rules are more restrictive for your mana, and you're more liberal for mana in drafts. So obviously, if you win combat with this and draw a card, that's amazing.
Yes.
If your 3-drop kills their 4-drop and you draw a card, this is extremely efficient. So if you can cast win cards in your limited deck, you play this automatically every time. You'd probably play 4 of them if you could. A thing to note, it becomes 4,000. So if it's, say, a water forward that's a 4,000 and they have a Waka and a Rifia in play, things that give their water forwards plus 2,000, it still gets those bonuses. Yeah. So it's a very important thing to remember when you play that because it'll feel bad to forget that. So remember that, but it's normally going to be like -3, -4 to something and then draw a card, which is enough. And Constructed, I don't know if it will see play. It could. It definitely could. You have things like Chaos Walker the Wheel and Diablos that are very strong. Wind is normally paired with other colors that have good kill spells. So maybe Mono Wind might run it, but I'm not certain. I'm not confident about my opinion on that. What do you think, Steve?
I think Diablos is really good. I actually think Chaos Walker of the Wheel is really good if you have the backup unit.
It is niche.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it might... I think people are still running Chaos Walker of the Wheel in a lot of their Wind decks, even though they didn't have Yuna.
I'm running it in Lightning because Lightning Wind because you have the Zidane now and then Thief, so you get to...
Yeah. So I think that Diablos might slowly take its place a little bit. I think it's going to see a lot more play in place of Chaos Walker.
It's good enough to see play. We'll see if it has a home in the meta, but it is a good card you should keep an eye on. Here we go. Here's the Kazuza. He's the card that you can search with our fella right here.
It's Kaz USA.
Yeah. Good. This is Kaz USA from Final Fantasy Typo, originally a PSP game, and then a Final Fantasy 15 demo seller game. So he comes into play, deals 10,000 damage, the same as this red card that costs you a whole damage to yourself to do. But this one costs 1 more, and you get a backup.
But it does it to a dull forward.
It does it to a dull forward, which is a downside. But
nice.
you can play around it, right? So it's fine. It also has a really good second ability, which is quite strong and limited, and then fine elsewhere. You can pay an ice, any color, sacrifice him, choose 2 forwards and dull them.
So it's the same as the 2-draw Shiva.
Yeah, so it's a pretty darn good card. Finding a home in the current ice deck is difficult.
Yes.
It's a very good deck. They have things like Arcanist. They have 2 Jills that are very good. One's an amazing card, and then one's a good kind of meta play when Fasoi is popular. So it will be hard for him to find a home, but it's a very good card, and you just slam these in Limited.
Yeah.
I had 3 in my seals, and it was quite destructive. So amazing card. Not all good cards see play in every meta, but it's definitely a card that you should think about. And if you think your deck's curve can kind of fit it constructed, try it out. And definitely play them in limited. Quite strong. Plus he has those sexy glasses. And then we got another one of these cards, so that's boring. Next pack. Alright, let's crack this guy open. Alright, we got Chocomog. Here, we got this guy. He studied the blade. So, you know that he's the master of the katana. So he's a Nightfall, another important job. They could have made him a ninja, but that would have created more interaction in the game with other cards, so they didn't. So he's 3 for 5,000, that's bad. Nobody likes that. He's a Final Fantasy Tactics A2 card, which is good. Several cards deal with that.
Yeah.
Mont Blanc being one, and then Lusa, who's the main character of that game.
Luso?
Luso.
Okay.
What are you talking about? No, Luso's the kid.
I know.
And you
We
get
know
him in
we're
Final
talking about the
Fantasy.
same person. We're just talking about how to pronounce his name.
Oh.
Well, you're adding a different letter. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting.
He's the card that says "cool" on it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool.
You can get him in War of the Lions, Final Fantasy Tactics. You can get him on your team. So if your opponent controls 3 or more forwards, he gains haste and he can't be blocked. So in limited, this card's pretty darn strong.
Yes.
Because people get a bunch of bad cards and play them, and then they can't block this, and that's real good. So you pretty much always play this in a limited deck.
Yes.
In constructed, I don't really like it because I just want to play Alua from the same game, or Adele from the same game at that spot in these kind of decks typically. I mean, maybe in a mono lightning, I'm coming at you like Cleopatra deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, they have to have 3 forwards too, so if you're wanting to kill their forwards with your Odins and Ramus, then he gets worse. And it's hard to, like, kind of crack in and then have them crack back, and then he can't, like, block efficiently. You want to stop that kind of attrition, that trading war. So I don't think this card is great for constructed, although it has some potential.
Yeah.
But it's a very good limited card, and I like the art style of Tactics Advanced.
I don't know. You just can't play. There's so many other cards that are so much better. Like, you just play Lua in your constructed deck instead of that card. So
here's another card that seems really strong, but Ice has a lot of good backup, so it's just hard. It's a 3-cost backup, which means the ability has to be good because we're paying 1 more for this ability. So it's pay 1, sacrifice it, put it in the break zone, choose 2 Shivas in your break zone, and add them to your hand. It's pretty much what this card says.
Yeah.
That's really good because we like Shivas. We also like Shivas in our graveyard because the 1 Shiva does damage for Shivas in the graveyard, but you can just Shiva all the time up and down the block, and that's fine. I think it's not going to be in constructed because of it's just too much contention for the backups.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there was another thing. Hades is right now. There's a new card, summons card, which is Hades, which is really good because you get to break a dull forward and force your opponent to discard.
Right.
So I think that's good too.
The problem with the Hades and this effect is that's really good sometimes, but in late game sometimes everyone's just playing out their full hands. So like when it's late and you're using your backups to break to get some value, you might not really get anything from that.
Yeah.
It might be a backup in their hand.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's other things, there's other options for it, but even then.
So this is a good card that's had a lot of competition, which means it might not see play. And there are decks like my friend here, Drew. He won the local qualifier up here in Washington with a very slow controlling ice wind deck.
Yep.
And that deck might play this card because it doesn't need the more aggressive backups that ice plays a lot. So it can potentially see home in non-traditional ice builds because it's a powerful effect, but it's yet to be seen.
Yeah.
In limited, if you have, I think, 3 or 4 ice summons that you're fortunate to have in your build, play it. If you're doing a draft with multiple sets, it gets much better.
Yes.
But in sealed, with just this set, it's not too good, probably. But, you know, play it if you really need a backup. So,
Fuck that
this
card.
is Tiger Boy. So he's a lesser Corel. They made sure he's not a Corel, just in case there's ever a Corel type. That way there'll be no interaction there. So it's on trend with the cards that can become a monster for 0.
Yeah.
So this is a very aggressive card. He can become a 5,000 monster like our Goblin friend, but when he attacks, you get to choose 1 forward and dull it, which is like Snow. So he's like a Snow they can't really interact with, and is slightly bigger, so he's slightly better in combat. I think this card is really good in an aggressive, fast ice deck, or maybe an ice lightning deck. You know, it doesn't have haste, which you can get for a lot of 3-drops. It doesn't have an immediate come into play effect. So it's not quite as fast as it looks, right? Because like Genesis is a faster card because he does something immediately. Alu is a faster card. Even Snow's a faster card. but this card is resilient. And so it does go in aggressive builds. I'm not sure if it'll see constructed play because of that, but
I think because you can play
multiples is good.
That makes it a little bit better.
And the new Ramu, who's quite strong, cannot kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if they activate it, he could kill instead, but he can't kill him with his extra ability. In limited, you play this most of the time.
Yeah.
I've had one I cut in one of my decks because I felt my deck was really slow, and this card would be bad for it. But I think a lot of times you play this in limited, it's normally pretty decent. Just remember that these aren't good defensive cards, and a lot of times in limited, especially in sealed, you don't have the mana you want, and you're sitting there kind of just waiting on your mana, and then you just kind of die. So if you think your deck's going to be like that, don't do it. If you think you're going to attack, if you're in draft and you're in 3 color, you know, then it's better. So just think about your deck, but a lot of times this card's pretty efficient. So this is Paint. So this is one of our Gull Wings that can be searched for. Yep. So 4 for 8, that's fine, especially for win, that's really good. Other Gull Wing forwards you control cannot be chosen by our opponent's summons.
It's not other, it's all.
Yeah.
Including her.
Yeah. That's what I meant to say. I just stupid. I smell the pizza. Pizza got here. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about Final Fantasy cards, but pizza's coming for us. I don't. You can get pizza. It's a free country mostly. So this card's really good if you have other Gull Wings. I don't know if you want to have other Gull Wings. The new Una seems fine.
I think a lot of people are excited to try it out, though.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people want to try it. I don't know how.
Come on, man. People off camera are tempting us with pizza, which I think is rude and un-American. So, one really cool interaction with this, Drew, with the Gull Wings deck.
Yeah. Is that you get to use Bart's if you'd like.
No, not that. Not that. What's the other cool interaction, Drew?
Oh, you can run the 1-cost Earth Summon. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Hazelmoth? Maybe
Hasselhoff.
Yeah, no, that's the new Light Dragon.
Okay.
But you can run that. You choose a job or element, and all your forwards get that job or element, and then they get plus 1,000.
It only costs 1. I believe it has the X-Burst. It's a.
I don't know if it has the X-Burst, but
it's a Final Fantasy 12 summon.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a good card because there's a Riku who says they can't be targeted by abilities.
Yeah.
Gull Wings, that is. So you can play this in response to them targeting one of your Gull Wings with a summon or non-Gull Wing with a summoner ability, and it will counter it, and then give them pluses as well. So that's an interesting interaction that might be useful. It also has an S ability that it does not tap for, although it requires a wind. It gives all of your Gull Wings haste. So you could use that in addition to give it haste. Your Bards can get haste. Again, I think Gull Wings has some good support. I think Una is problematic because there's several good Unas.
Yeah.
But if you're playing a Final Fantasy X title deck, these cards are much better. In limited, you always play this card because 4 for 8 is just good in limited. You kind of want to play those cards.
And it protects itself.
So it's just good. So this is a cipher that I assume is printed for some kind of feature plan because right now it's mostly a non-playable card. It's 3 for 3,000, which is ridiculously low. That means he's basically a non-combative person, right? And he has the X-Burst, which is fine. It lets you grab a witch. So far in this game, I believe there's 3 or 4 witches. So Ultimisha's the only witch.
No.
Is that Bob?
Adia
is a witch.
There's been 2 Adias.
There's
3 Adias.
That's the same person.
Yeah.
But it's the same person.
If you haven't played Final Fantasy VIII, Adia is Ultimisha.
Yeah.
That's a spoiler.
Because there's 2 Ultimishas. So
is the hag from Final Fantasy IV a witch? Or they gave her some stupid job type so it's not interactive?
Probably the latter.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so he's a seed candidate, which the old ones were just seed. So there's another non-interactive job type there. So that, basically this is a card's waste of time. Don't play this card unless like you have 2 witches in your constructed deck, or sorry, your limited deck. Then play it because if any cards you play let you draw cards in limited are just good. This card's not going to see any constructed play until more witches are printed. So that's his whole life. This is a Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles card. So if you have a little penguin monster, you can give it +1. 5 for 7 is bad. 5 for 7 with an X-Burst makes us want to read the rest of the card. The X-Burst says we get a warrior. So the best
Job warrior.
Yeah. That makes we can get Ward and the guy with weird stabby hands from Final Fantasy VIII, Krios or whatever.
You can get Warrior of Light.
2-drop Warrior Light in red.
No, we're talking about limited. I'm sorry, I was just
limited.
So you can get a couple things in limited. So this card's pretty darn good in limited because you get a guy, You know, if you can play anything to get cards, you just do it in limited, right? So you normally play this card in limited as long as you have 1 warrior search. You always play it if you have 2 warrior searches.
Yep.
If you control Leo, who's a legend, he gets plus 1,000 brave. That's not a very relevant ability. That's a flavorful ability that might matter for title one day. It's not going to matter for constructed unless there's this multicolor warrior deck.
Leo warrior, yeah. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So, sure. Also, a really important thing to note. There's a warrior in this set called Warrior, who is a warrior. He's wearing warrior armor. He's a warrior, but he doesn't count as a warrior. So you can't grab him.
You're talking about the standard unit warrior.
Yeah, so he's a warrior,
yeah.
but you can't grab him because he's not a warrior, because sometimes things in this game aren't what they are. So this is Ricard. Very awesome art by Amino. Absolutely awesome art. So it's Dragoon. It looks beautiful.
The full
really,
looks a lot better.
Really dynamic card. So let's read it and just see what they chose to put on this really awesome looking card. So it's 5 for 8, which is fine. You know, we might care. We got to read the text. The X-Burst makes this thing. Yeah. And then it says, all right, so if you play it, or the X-Burst, we get to grab Minwoo. Okay. Or Scott, or Joseph.
Yep.
So Scott and Joseph aren't great. Joseph isn't good, and Scott is
fine.
Like he's the leader of the X-Men, and that's fine. But you know, not a lot of people want to hang out with him. Minwoo has 2 good cards. One's a staple, and the new one is pretty darn interesting. A good forward, and both in water. Water Lightning hasn't been super played outside of like Knight's kind of deck, which I like because I'm a Tactics fanboy. But this card is pretty terrible. It's a hero you'd never want to open. You will play it in limited, I guess, if you can grab one of those cards, and then you just get a 5/8 cape.
He also has to block.
Oh yeah, no, that's really bad. So he has to block if they attack. So if they have a 9, you got to block and you die. Yeah. So basically, this is a beautiful looking card that could have been an amazing foil, an example of why Final Fantasy is such a great game because of how cool the cards are. But it's a pretty big miss.
I probably still would not play it in limited, even if I had a Minwoo to grab.
I would, because
if you can grab a Minwoo, yeah, you play it.
Also, they might attack into. Hold on.
How are you going to get that Minwoo?
Hold on. They might attack into this card thinking they can beat it, and then you trick and win, and then you also got a Minwoo. This situation is quite strong.
Possibly.
You play this card in limited.
I just feel like you're investing too much. You're investing a couple turns and a lot of CP.
You're not investing nothing. Okay, we got Doom Train. We had a Doom Train before, but it was called some crazy name. So this is a good, proper Doom Train for simple folk. So it's 4, and it deals 9,000 to a doll forward. So that's fine. You play that limited most times, you know. Wouldn't be constructed playable, but, you know, you play that limited. Yeah. But it has a super special extra ability. Yeah, so it's on sale if they have 2 or less cards in their hand. If they do, you get to play for 2. Which is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is good. So you obviously would pay a 2 cost, deal 9,000 to a doll forward. You play that all day, every day.
Yep.
So play this unlimited every single time. And if constructed mono ice aggro is a thing, if they're a little more less like they're playing all the little guys and they really want to kill their stuff, that's fine. I feel like ice just taps your stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to play it in an aggressive deck because then they'll be having forwards back to block. I probably want to play more in
their forwards will be tapped because you got Genesis and Kuja, man.
That's true. Or Snow.
And Shiva and Snow. Yeah, so it's good with Snow.
Yeah.
Good with Snow and then all the little discard boys. So it's conceivable and constructed a limited bomb, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another beautiful art, right?
Yep.
So this card is awesome. I'm not a Final Fantasy VIII fan so much. Namru did most of the art design, but Amino did some of these drawings, and this card looks amazing. So let's see what it does. So it's 3 for 4, and that we're not excited.
And that's a piece of shit.
When it enters the field, you get to search for one card named Squall, and then Squall says whatever, and then goes to your hand. So this is a bad card. In an 8 tile deck, it's a decent card.
Yeah.
In this format, sealed, it's terrible. In other like drafts, if you have a Squall, sure, maybe you run it, but you might cut it. If you have 2 Squalls, and you always run it.
I wonder why this one's not an EX burst, because even Fujin, right? That card that searches for Cypher.
Also, unfortunately, this card is a hero, so it means if you buy a pack from a shop to support the game and you open this, then the game betrayed you, which is unfortunate. The card's beautiful, and I really wish that it did something good. Because
I really want to play it.
Well, there's only so much Amino art, and when they use it, I feel like the card should be better because of that, because it's very iconic. And it's just, I think, unfortunate that this card's designed so uninterestingly and ineffective. It's both. It is not designed in a way that really tells you anything about the character. This character is... also, there's the darn spoiler on the card, if you haven't played the game. So they really shouldn't have done that, I feel like. Like, they shouldn't call Aerith Dead Girl as her job. So, yeah, I'm kind of... This is a bad job, is my opinion on that card. It's a bad job. So this is Monster Face. He's a Marduk. He's a typo card, which I don't think super matters for monsters too much, but really good limited card.
It's very good.
Yeah, it costs really 2. They attack you. You can pay 2, kill their card. So it makes combat hard.
Yep.
Really good card in limited. It's probably not good enough for constructed because Earth has so many great ways to kill stuff anyway.
Yep.
With Raban and Hecton Share and Big Old Daddy and his Cactar boys. So probably not a constructed card. It might have been in Opus 1 or 2. It just enough good stuff kind of obsoletes it. But great limited card. Pick it up. You know, a decently designed card. Not the most imaginative thing, but you know, good card.
Good. Yep.
So this is one of our witches in the set. This is Adia, Final Fantasy VIII. She's from the future, kinda, and your nanny. And you can put her into the break zone, choose one job witch in your break zone, play it on the field. You can only use this ability on your turn. I think this card maybe has some constructed playability because the other witch, Adia, does damage when it comes into play.
It kills things based on how many...
It's like a flame gun combo. It kills things. So that's a pretty good interaction. Problem is... and the other one has the EX burst, so you get an EX burst trigger off of these. Problem is, it's kind of expensive. You were probably discarding a card, tapping 2 to play this, then you got to untap and then do it again. I guess if you discarded an Adia and then tap and play it, you really didn't even do anything.
It's a little counterproductive because you're sacrificing a backup to bring in the Adia that cares about you having more backups.
You're right. I think there's a possible positive interaction there, but it's not intuitively good. I think in the future it can be better if they ever make any other witches. In limited, there is another witch who is a 3-drop water forward. I feel like if you have if you have 2 of those, then you should run this card. Otherwise, you probably don't run it. So that's kind of my opinion on this card.
The other thing is you could, if you were building like a water lightning deck, you could use this to bring in the 5-drop 9K Ultimecia.
Yeah, that's true.
So there could be something there. I'm not certain.
Probably not, but that's a positive interaction with that Ultimecia. So, Diablos. Okay,
Leon.
So this is Leon. He is he's a model, and he costs 1 for 8. He's very shiny and handsome. So 1 for 8's really good, right? So right there, based on his looks and his curve, we're all very excited. And then we read his text. So when he enters the field, your opponent gains control of him. That's bad. That's a very bad line of text. One of the worst I've ever seen. But let's keep reading. When a Category 2 character of your opponent's enters the field, your opponent gains control of him. Okay, so you need to play him, and then they get him.
Yeah.
Which is bad. And if you play a 2 character, you get him. Which is good. So if you play your Minwu on turn 2, you get him back. So that's pretty solid. But if they play their Emperor, who's very popular, or if they play Maria, who's very popular, they get him back.
So I think there was a lot of issues with this card because this is a new mechanism, mechanic in the game where if someone already has a Leon on their field and you play this card... I think they can't
switch, right? Because the state-based effects would not allow you to.
There's like those kind of mechanics. If someone has a Leon and you have a Leon, right, you play it, then it switches, or I forgot what exactly.
That's the Lions War.
What you do is you have 2 in your hand, you play the first one, then you play the second, and now you have that second.
Here's my opinion. Some people are going to... This might be controversial to me, to some people. Some people might think this card is good in the Final Fantasy II deck. I would not play this card. I don't like cards that have really unpredictable outcomes. There's this thing in Magic where there's a lot of cards that do 2 things that sound really good. Like, say, Breaking Point from Judgment. It can do 6 damage to them, or Wrath of God, they're bored, right? Very strong for 3 mana, you'd think. But you want to control what's happening. You don't want to get tricked. You're basically allowing them to have an extra possible battle trick. You're adding a line of text to the Marias and Emperors that say gain an 8K card. And you may say, well, I have my own 2-drops. I'm playing a deck that has heavy 2s. Sure, but you got to draw one and play one next turn then. And there's only so many of them, and you might have them all in play. And then you also just don't want them to remove it as a blocker at the wrong time. I mean, also the benefit is you get an 8K, which is good, but it doesn't do anything special. Most of the creatures that are fighting creatures in the game that are aggressive cards are going to have 8K or be a 7K with an ability that either lets them do something on the board or match an 8K, or they're going to be 7 with a plus from their Anthem, card. So I don't really think I just want to deal with all that for an 8K.
Yeah.
If it had Brave or First Strike or something else, I would think about it. But I personally do not want to deal with this card unless the 2 deck is just really insane.
It's not gonna
and it's not going to be
because it doesn't even have a searcher for it,
and it doesn't have proper backup support because a Maria is your backup and your 2-drop.
It's also spread across 3 colors.
Yeah, I think this card is interesting and could possibly one day be good.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's quite handsome, but I don't particularly like it. Yeah, so 2-drop Bard. So this card's 2-drop ice backup. You can sacrifice it, and then you each discard a card. So you run it limited, seems fine.
Yeah.
Isn't the same as the Kazusa from the old...
No, that one comes into play, and you each discard, and then it has this ability.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more controlled, but less powerful. I don't know, it's fine. It's just kind of bored. It's probably not going to see play. It might see play in Constructed, maybe.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
It
does what it does. Evoker, when we talk about them, it's good that they reprinted them because they're good for sealed. Not really good for drafts too much.
Yep.
Quetzalcoatl is my favorite looking summon from 8, I think. I liked him. I also like saying Quetzalcoatl, so it gives me the opportunity to say it, which is good.
To say what?
What's his name?
Quetzalcoatl.
One more time.
He's an Amazonian god. So he costs 2. He has the X-Burst. That sounds fine. Choose 1 forward they control, and choose 1 forward you control. Yours gets plus 2,000, and theirs loses 2,000. So that is a big swing.
Yep, it's a 4,000 difference.
Yeah, so that's a big swing. So basically you win combat unless they have another trick. I think you play up to 3 of these unlimited, probably, as long as they're purple. I don't know if this will see constructed play, because I think Ramu and the other Ramus and the Ramu gang and Odin and Cyclops are just kind of better than this card. Yeah. It should probably see play in Opus 1, 2, maybe Opus 3 meta. But it's just probably not a constructed card because of the other good cards. But play in the limited. Draft, sealed, you're happy with this card. Good inclusion, I think. I think this was smart to include because it gives them a good trick for sealed. So I feel like this set is designed much better for constructed than the other sets. So I got to give them a lot of props for that. I think they've done more to design this set.
Limited?
Draft?
Yeah.
You mean draft?
Yeah, for sealed and draft. So 3-drop Chocobo. Enters the field. You may play 1 card named Chocobo from your hand onto the field. So if you have lots of Chocobos, then you have lots of Chocobos. Don't play this in limited unless you're playing draft to several sets, and then you can plan for it. Don't play it in sealed or only this draft, because even if you do get a chain off, I don't want 3,000 forwards in play. That's bad. That's not worth a card. It just isn't worth a card. It is a standard unit, for that matters. So if you have like 2 SIDs and not a lot of standard units in your steel deck, you can run one just so you have something to grab. Otherwise, just don't play it. In constructed, the Chocobo deck is actually pretty tight. It has a lot of really good Chocobos. I think they still probably play this, though, in the Chocobo deck.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, Chocobros is a legit deck. It's top of tier 2. But in best of 1 formats, because up in Seattle we play best of 3 a lot, but I know most people play best of 1. So in those formats, and you're not prepared, Chocobos can get those lucky hands. It's a lot like if you're a long-term Magic player. The old Bant decks wasn't the most consistent deck in the format, but it had these really strong openings sometimes, just crack into people, and so that deck would be overrepresented for its value in tournaments. And Chocobos is a lot like that, I think. So I mean, these help to your kind of nut hands, right? So yeah. I feel like the card is pretty good, and I'm not a Chocobo expert, but I think it has a chance of seeing play in their decks. 3's bad, but remember that they party attack a lot.
Yeah.
So that's not a big of a downside. So Ninja Bro and Ice Card. New pack.
Go ahead. Oh, goodness.
I got it. Okay, here's our warrior.
Oh, here's that.
So we talked about him. Really good card unlimited. I think you'd probably up to 4 of them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so he's a 5/9K. You can play it on turn 2. Actually, isn't a terrible play because when he attacks, he gets +2 power. So most things in the set can't beat him. There are 9-cost dragons who are elder dragons from the infinite past, who are the big legends in the set that can't block him when he attacks. So
they will die.
So that's how he's quite big. He's not a warrior though.
Nope.
So, I mean, you might say, but sir, it says on it warrior 3 times, but you'd be wrong. So this is Paladin. This card's really good.
Yes.
In limited, this card is very, very strong. He's almost better than the hero that costs the same amount. Because basically 5 for 8, you're overpaying, right? 4 for 8 is like fine. Everyone's like, yay. 5 for 8, you're like, okay, what are you giving me? All right. What's my special feature? So what's really good about this is if he's dealt damage by a forward, not spells, but by a forward, reduce the damage by 400 instead, and that's each instance of a forward. So they have to do 12 to kill him.
Yeah.
And he can beat like 2 people in combat a lot. And if you plus them, you know, then like, and they already invested to get over his shield, they're kind of screwed. He's a standard unit, and I think he's not out of the picture for constructed because Dataluma can't target him. Like, it does nothing.
Yeah, Dataluma does nothing.
And a lot of the other damage spells that people play do nothing to this card. You can't even Diablos him then daddy him.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Like, so do I think this card's great and we'll see constructed play? No. I just think that you look at it and say, oh, good, limited card won't see constructed play. But I think there's a little tiny bit of a chance.
Well, Diablos would just blow him up because he costs 5.
Well, there's that. But if they... Yes. But if they wanted to kill your good 5-drop and then minus, they could do that.
Play this to try to trick your opponent.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't kill your cam, right? So, fair enough. Solid point. The point is that this card is, I think, well designed.
Yeah.
I think this is a well-made card that's simple, but has an interesting enough effect that you could consider it in other builds. So I like the design of this card. So, pretty solid. This monk is Captain Average of the set. It's the most average card in the entire set.
Yep.
You pretty much are always forced to play it in limited if you're Earth, because that's just kind of how the game works out. I play it several times and never use its ability.
Same here.
It's there if you really need to trade things up. It being a monk is relevant because Matt from Final Fantasy XI, the greatest Mo of all time, is in the set and he can grab monks.
Yeah.
It is not a job monk.
Doesn't matter though.
But it doesn't matter for him because they have to word things that way. But this monk who's not a monk does still count as a monk in some ways. And so you play it. This card...
What the hell do you pronounce that?
It's Pugé. So it's pronounced however you pronounce it in French because the Elvon from 11 have a French kind of...
Is it PG? Theme. Because PG in Korean means zit.
It's not Korean.
I know
it's French. Not everything's about Korea.
Read on.
Okay, so this is a character from Final Fantasy XI whose pretty much main job is to grab Prince Triton. Problem is, Prince Triton in this game is a knight. So he can't grab Prince Triton, so this card's terribly designed for flavor purposes. However, it's a 4 for 5, which is bad, but it has the X burst. It lets us grab a prince. Also, if you play it, you can grab a prince.
What princes are there right now? Larsa?
Larsa's not
Larsa's not a prince because he's the prince of the firstborn duke or whatever.
He's the born son of the emperor.
You think now he should be a prince? It is not smart that he's not a prince. The game would be more interactive and a better game if he was a prince, but he is not. It's unfortunate. There are other princes. There's a prince from Final Fantasy II, Paul. Not Paul. Who's the prince? I don't remember. I only played 2 one time. But there's a prince in this set. There's a couple other princes. So if you want some princes, play this card, I guess.
I guess it's like a future kind of maybe perhaps card. I can't think of it.
It also, I believe, the King of the Elvon make it so this costs 1 less or something, or untaps him. Mentions him. I forget what it does.
Yeah, the 2-drop Claudia can untap knights.
No.
That's
that's not the. You think Claudia is the King of the Elvon? Is that what you think?
I think that there's only 2 cards that mention Prince, and it's this card. And
No, there's a card that mentions this card.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Okay, well, it happens. I don't know. We're all disappointed. So
in various ways.
Bad review of that card. So here's Ward. He's from Final Fantasy VIII. He looks like a bit of a racist to me. Look at him. That's neither here nor there.
He's a warrior.
He's a warrior, and he makes other warriors big. You want to play some warriors? You can.
Play this warrior.
I don't know. It's fine in limited. You always play it in limited. You probably play it in draft sealed. Sorry for the crying baby. We have a full shop of people here for Final Fantasy cards. Babies love Final Fantasy cards. I mean, it's fine, right? I mean, there's some warriors in constructed that are a thing, but tribal's not supported enough, and mostly tribals, dragoons, or standard units, or maybe Gullwings. So it's a
little bit of nice.
It's pretty much pointless for constructed unless it's a casual deck, in which there's some probably fun casual decks. But.
I actually kind of wish this was a standard unit, so that you can bring that out and make it, you know, kind of interact with the Word of Light. Right.
So this card is great in limited. Great in limited. Final Fantasy Tactics A2 ability, which is a relevant category. And it's 4 for 8, like we said. You know, you play the 4 for 8s in limited, and it can tap to prevent 2,000 to itself. So it wins fights. It wins fights with 8Ks. Is a good blocker for 9s, and it can also help your other things survive damage or fights. They are very strong. Drew here had to play against the guy who had 3 of them out at one time.
Yeah, he had 3 of this, and then he also had an Allerkin's deck. Yeah.
You won that game, though, right?
I was able to beat him in a best of 3, but damn was his deck strong.
Okay, so limited, this card's not going to see play. It could be a standard unit with first strike and that ability, which is really good, but the standard unit deck wants to be faster than that, so it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, you know, you might play it in title, FA for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, Reft of the Gilmore title deck, but really good in limited. This is an Evoker, Foil Diablos. We already talked about him, but good card. So, this is Shiva. That's a spoiler for everybody. Lady Ice Heart is her job type. That's a job type. Lady Ice Heart.
Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's 4, and you get to grab 1 ice forward. So you're really paying for that. You're actively paying for the search. You're not really getting the card quality of a 3-drop. Once you grab something, you know, you're paying for that search. And it doesn't have EX burst. You play it in limited if you really have a couple good ice forwards. I don't think it'll see playing constructed unless you really need to grab your damn orphan, but I feel like you don't need to that bad.
You can just play the 3-drop mob.
Yeah, so I mean this card's a miss. I mean in Final Fantasy 14 title deck, I think it's a miss even. I think it's just kind of an unfortunately designed card. Too bad. Sorry, Shiva.
Should have been an EX burst.
Yeah, should have been an EX burst. So I actually think that this card in limited is a lot better than a lot of people do. Here's the trick on this card. Use the ability at the end of their turn, and so you don't really, you're not paying anything, right? Because like you didn't block or whatever. You have a card, you just get a free tap, and you tap their best thing. Most things are going to be 8 or 7Ks, so they have a really effective 8K or a really effective 9K. It's out of combat now.
Yeah.
You know, like we played in the winter box the other day, and like that was a big card that helped me win that game. Is because it's just quite strong. You also can possibly use its activated ability. Sorry, it's special because there are a witch backup, and then this card's just a common. It's a rare, so I mean, like it's feasible. You could use it in limited.
Yep.
Also, 3 for 7 is fine in limited.
It's on perf, so it's perfectly fine to play.
I do think it's a little weird ability for a mono water card. I gotta say, it doesn't seem like a water effect to me, but that's.
Well, that's fine because Ultimecia, the 5-drop, also is kind of focused on.
Yeah, but that's like a rule. Like they come into play tapped, right? Which is I think a little different than like a thing.
I still think that would be more ice, but
yeah, I mean I understand that. But her special ability also from the original Opus 1 is freeze everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
It's
the only water forward that can freeze shit.
I think it's a little weird, but I think it's actually a good card in limited, especially if you're a more grindy kind of player, which I think a lot of us Magic guys are. It's probably not constructed playable. It is true the mono water decks like to have a lot of forwards. They're good at that. You know, and they have Rifia and all this stuff that or Cognazio that like wants you to build up your water count. But I mean, Shantoto also exists, and so you can't just be doing that willy-nilly all the time. And I don't think you probably get enough value to play this. I wouldn't say it's a no chance of constructed play, but it's not like a great card really. So it's probably just a limited sleeper pick for people who know how to use it right. But you know, it's not a great card. Like you don't just jam this card, but for a certain kind of player, it can be a pretty good limited card. So this Ramu's awesome. This guy's going to be played a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So we got 3 and 4 abilities. We get to choose 2. So first one's choose a monster, cost 2 or less, break it. That's actually not amazing in this limited environment because not too many things cost 2.
Yeah.
You can kill this goblin guy or that earth guy, this fella. Although that interaction doesn't always come up perfectly. Or there's a wind one that does 9,000 damage, I believe.
Kill something that has power 9,000 or
yeah.
more.
9,000.
So you can kill all those things, which is quite good. You can choose one forward to cost 4 or less, doll it, which will be a popular choice in Constructed, I believe.
Yeah.
Choose one active forward, deal it 7,000 damage, which is quite good. Choose one lightning forward and give it hastily in a turn. So the first and last ability are probably the worst 2. In Constructed, killing a 2-cost monster is better because you can kill Cactor.
Yeah.
Or, people's tomberries when you want to kill it, or, stuff like that, which is good. The last ability is the most restrictive. You're probably not going to use that too much, although, use it, smoke them when you got them, it's time to use it. But the middle 2 abilities, being able to remove something from combat you don't want there and kill one of their decent creatures, I think is really worth it. So this card's quite strong, and it's a Final Fantasy VII card, if that matters. And it's going to see play in all formats where it's legal probably for quite a while.
Yeah, it's very strong.
So, also cool art. Like it, real good. Very well designed card. And, yep. Get out of here, God. You let the team down. So, like I said, I'm a Dragoon lover. This is a Dragoon. Yeah, he's not a Dragoon, but he's a Dragoon. He's a standard unit Dragoon, non-Dragoon. Final Fantasy Tactics A2, relevant type.
Yep.
So 2 for 5 is fine. You don't tweet about it, but it's fine. Little tongue-tied here, but listen to this ability. For each job Dragoon and card name Dragoon, other than Dragoon, meaning this card, you control, Dragoon, meaning this card, gains 2,000 power. So if you have 2 other Dragoons in play, he gets plus 4, which would make him a 9. This card is pretty darn good, especially if you have 2 Dragoons, and one of those Dragoons is Kane. He's, 11 with first strike or something? Which is quite good. So,
not with first strike, but...
What does Kane give him?
Just plus 2. And then if you control Rosa, King himself gets plus 2 first strike.
Okay,
haste,
whatever.
I think.
Whatever. Point is, Dragoon is a top of tier 3 semi-casual deck. It can win, especially if they get lucky and get their Freya triggers off at the right times.
Yeah.
But that deck is much better now because of this card and has upped its ability to compete at the current strength it was with the new decks and their upgraded cards.
Is Red Card a Dragoon too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think this will move Dragoons to tier 2, but I think it will keep it as the best tier 3 deck. And it's a fun deck, and I think this is a good design card and helps Dragoons be a bit better.
Yeah.
So, cool card. In Limited, you do play this card quite often because it's just a guy, and there are also several Dragoons, even though they're not great. You can live that dream pretty easily. This is a pretty disappointing card. It's Final Fantasy XIV, the Machinists cost 2, which is fine. But it costs 3, and then it kills something with power 5 or less. So this will never see Constructed play, never.
Yep.
It's a bad card, and you probably only play it in Limited if you have to. So
I think you just play it in Limited because it's a 2-drop backup.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you need a 2-drop backup, then that's.
I don't think the ability will ever be relevant.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see it.
I guess you can kill Adele if
It's a bad card,
but it's not good.
This is a well-designed, simple card. I think it's Final Fantasy Tactics A2, cool art, 3 for 6, which is 1 below curve. But if you have another FFA2 card, it becomes an AK. So this is a really good design card for Limited because it's a very simple interaction that everyone can understand. That gives you a benefit of designing your deck a little bit better than just throwing stuff in there. So good, very good in draft. Much better in draft.
Yeah, I think this is might be a sleeper card in draft. It's quite.
Yeah, in draft it's very good. Although it still just gives you 8, so it doesn't push you over the top. But very good in draft and pretty darn decent in sealed. You'll probably play it in title. In constructed, it will never see play. But this is a well-designed card, and what I was talking about of them making the set a bit better for limited.
Yeah.
So I like this design on this card. You'll play this card, the Scholar, 2 drop back up. Doll something of 2 or less, you doll and freeze it. So it's an itty-bitty, very narrow kind of Jill, but also you get the doll, so it's a little better in that regard. But the fact that it only does 2 or less, you're not really ever going to play this in Constructed, unless there's some crazy meta or we get a sideboard one day. Like, this could potentially be a great sideboard card in the future one day, but otherwise...
Yeah.
But in limited, you play it because you need a nice backup and maybe a doll something. And that's really all there is to it. She got a crazy hat, also. You do this white mage. This is some weird kind of card that you might play.
So this white mage is fine if it ever matters that things are in graveyards.
What does it
do? The card says, when white mage enters the field, choose one card in your opponent's break zone and remove your game. Then you can pay one colorless and put this in the break zone and do the same thing again. The nice thing about this is because it doesn't require it to dull, you can do it right away or just basically have it up at all times if you care about your opponent maybe like devouting something in or phoenixing something in. You can stop that from happening.
You actually used this against me when we were during the pre-release event when I played Mephilia, and I went in, right, it goes on the stack and it goes in, and I was about to grab my 2 cards.
Yeah.
And you used this...
The second ability.
He used the second ability and he stacked on top of it and said, fuck you to one of the cards, and I got shit.
It's also a standard unit backup, so if you really need this ability, you can use the interaction with the Warrior of Light in this set Unlimited.
Yep.
If for some reason that matters. I don't think this will see a lot of play. Like I said, there's no sideboard in this game, so the kind of graveyard hate is kind of situational. But, you know, as far as graveyard hate goes, it's easy as a 2-drop backup, so it's good at what it does.
Yeah.
This Scholar is a perfectly fine card. I think this is a very like C plus C card. It's 2-drop backup. You can pay 2, put in the break zone, grab an Earth backup, get it back. Maybe sees play in Constructed because you can pick up your carbuncles again if you lose your carbuncles.
Or your Hecaton share.
Yeah, you don't really want to lose your backups. You know, like Earth breaks are backups. They like to break the backups, have the come into play abilities. But it's potentially see constructed play, especially because they have Graviton, so their Earth summons are extra valuable, or they're extra valuable because of Dottie Luma. So possible. A 2 card, which is a relevant title type. Pretty decent and limited because you have the new Titan, who's good. Yep. You have the new Cactar, who's broken when you're playing with the rules where your backups can tap for anything, and then just good otherwise. So it's a good card. Like I said, pretty average really, but you know, I had 3 of these in sealed, and they were great. Not great. They were good if you have 3 in sealed. It's fine if you have 2. It's unplayable if you have 1.
Yep.
It's probably not a card you're going to play in Constructed. That's comes into play, lets you search for other ones, right? So if you pay 2, discard a card, play it, and get the thing back, you really got a 2 backup that has an ability where you can break it, and all your forwards get plus 1,000.
It only gives 1 forward plus 1,000.
Yeah, which is bad. I mean, like,
it has to be attacking.
Yeah, so it's not good. If you have 3 of them, I think you play them like I did.
Yeah,
but otherwise, it just live your life. So this card is Neo Bahamut from Final Fantasy VII, who brings everybody up in the air, then blows the ground away, and it's awesome. And you called your friend in like 1997 and like, whoa, did you get Neo Bahamut? And so that's cool. But then there's text on the card, and it costs 2, which has me excited. The first text says you can only cast him during your main phase, so that really gets me disappointed. It then says choose 1 forward, deal 8,000 damage, discard your hand. So fire should be the best at dealing damage, I think. I think that's...
You would think.
I think. That's my intuition. I believe that's what the game's trying to tell me. But this card has 2 downsides to do 8,000 damage. And so this card is bad. Now, some people might say, well, you run 1 unlimited. I've done that, and it's only been good for me to cast 1 time in the 12 games of limited I've played so far. And some of those games are best 2 out of 3. So I've, a lot of games. Discarding from you think, oh, you want to have it be the last card in your hand and then just do it, right? Problem is, you still have to do it on your damn main phase, and so you don't get to use it as a trick. You can't really use it against monsters, so it's just not good. Yep. Like, the best that it is your last card kills one of their cards sometimes, maybe, if they don't have anything to make their 8,000 power thing bigger. And it's just like, okay. Again, you can run 1 in limited, and sometimes it's good, but it's just not that great. And in Constructed, you think you can control this more, but you probably can.
No, you can't.
But it's just not worth it. Just don't play this card. It's a badly designed card. The red cards are not good enough. It's wonderful art that should be cool, and it's just bad. And I think it's really unfortunate because I'm not really a red player, but other people are. And so I feel like I'm a red rights activist because it's just not fair. So this is Kingly, and he's a king man. And if you play him, you get to grab a Final Fantasy CC forward and add to your hand. Doesn't have EX burst like it probably should. So if you're playing the Leon deck, I guess you run this to get Leon. Leo. Yeah, get Leo. You know, kind of boring card. Play it in all your lunar decks if you have one target and no other good Earth backups. Automatically play it absolutely if you have 2 targets. Otherwise, don't play it. End of story. New water monster, which I like because I played Mono Monster Waters a lot. Costs 2. Okay, so it costs 1 with Marine Constructed. We like that. And pay 2 and you get to then summon something. So I think it's actually bad. And here's why. You're paying 1 more losing surprise to play a Leviathan from Opus 1 who has the X burst. Or you're paying 1 more and losing surprise to play Leviathan that has 2 extra abilities from this set. So that's really bad. If you're abusing the monsterness and so it's cheaper with Maria, then you sack it, then you tap it and get another one. Mira. That's like kinda good. Like I think that's kinda good. But what the heck are you cutting in that deck to play this card?
Yeah, that's
you're not cutting cats. You're not cutting tomberries. I'm not gonna cut my the green dragons. I'm not cutting the little bug that counters things. Not cutting any of that. Cleon. Not cutting that stuff. Not cutting realms or Lenas. Or Clouds of Darkness or Ignazios. Not cutting any of that for this card. And it's just not good.
It's not good enough.
And in Limited, it's not very good. If you have no other tricks, you play this, but otherwise, don't play this card. Also, it looks ugly. It's an ugly looking fish, man.
I would play it in Limited.
I think it should have been 2 and the 0 to activate it and you break it, you know? If it was that, they might have been okay.
Gigas, this is a 4 guy, and he becomes a 9,000. And if he attacks, he can't do much. You play it in Limited as a blocker. Sometimes it attacks.
Yeah.
And that's really it. There's nothing more to think about. You never play it in Constructed. End of story. Kate Sith from Final Fantasy XIV. He's in the plot line there as well. Costs 2. He's a Watchman. Sure. Pay 2. Sack him. Choose 1. Summon. Choosing 4, you control cancels effects. This is a good card.
Yeah.
This is we like 2-drop backups, and this effect is like better than most. Pretty darn solid Limited. I think you always run this card if you're in an Earth deck or just in a format where you need cards for anything.
Yeah, I actually run it in my Pauper deck right now.
Yeah, I think it'd be good there.
I think it has constructed
It also has constructed playability. I don't know if it will see play, but it's a good card. This is a good card. Like it.
That's our 3rd Leon.
So, the Final Fantasy 2 card. It's a pirate. There is some pirate interaction. Unfortunately, they made things Sky Pirates instead of Pirates, so a lot of the 12 cards don't interact with it. But I think the Penello, that's a 2-drop win backup, gives Pirates
plus 1. Yeah, she says if all your forwards are Pirates or Sky Pirates, if all of them are, they get plus 1,000.
So, that doesn't work for this.
A bad card.
It's bad.
It's weird that they did that.
So this card's 4 for 3, which is terrible. But it lets you choose a Viking and costs 3 or less in your break zone, put it on the field. Good thing of that is there's a Viking that, when it comes into play or leaves the field, you get to draw a card. So, I've argued with people that I think this card is bad. And the reason why is I think that there's an inherent cost in drawing cards where you want them to be able to be part of a constructive strategy. What this card does is let you play a lot of cards that don't do anything by themselves that promise to get you other cards. But you need to run a lot of cards that do that kind of just get more cards thing with these cards, so they don't actually build up into a productive strategy. So there's a sunk cost here of every time you play one of these cards, you just get more cards. You're losing opportunities to impact and interact with your opponent. So I think that there's a hidden cost that people aren't attributing to this card. That's why I think it's not very good. Now, in these wind water decks, they can do a little bit more with that because they can start untapping their backups with all these cards and do some stuff like with Pain that they've been doing, right? That might be a thing. But I think a lot of the time you're just kind of circle jerking and drawing cards and not doing anything.
Go ahead.
And so in Magic, doing that is a bit more valuable because there's a combo part of the card design in Magic, right? Where you can draw a bunch of cards, discard things, use Storm and do stuff. In this game, you don't have that ability. It's just giving you mana than cards, and your cards are lower quality inherently when you draw them because you're running all the stuff that just draws you cards. So I just don't think it's a very good. It doesn't mean it can't see play, especially if there's better Vikings one day.
I think it takes up too much space.
Yeah.
In your deck. I think that's what you're you're putting too much because you have to run Vikings, you have to run this thing, right? I understand that you get 2 free bodies on the board technically, right? Because
but they suck.
you get Layla and you get the Viking on the board, and you get to draw one, right?
Yeah.
So technically, you're getting you're getting 2
two
bodies
forwards, and they both cost 0 to play.
Yeah, exactly.
They cost an opportunity cost. Is what I'm trying to argue.
I agree with you. I think the problem, as you said, is you could have the opportunity of having something that has more power, but you have a 3,000 and a 2,000, a specific 2,000. This card doesn't interact with
so
anything
let's
other
say
than
you
those.
play these and they attack you, and now you can't block, right? Or you do block to get your cards back, right? Okay, then you take 1 damage and your thing dies, and then it's your turn. You have all these cards. You play 1 thing down, and you feel like you've got to play it cheaper because you draw extra cards, right? Like your good card, whatever it is. But now if they have any kind of effect, they bounce it to your hand or kill it, then they just attack you again. Then you're just on your back foot with a bunch of cards in your hand. Now, it's true you can say, well, I'll just play a bunch of stuff. Maybe. But like I said, every one of those draws is worse because you're playing this kind of deck. And so I don't think it's very great. Now, there is a positive interaction with this card in Renoa because Renoa can blink the Viking and you get to draw 2 cards. Maybe if there's more Vikings in the future, it could be something. It is a Final Fantasy 2 card.
Wait. Renoa can blink the Viking?
Renoa can...
The new Renoa.
Yeah,
the four crossbow, which we haven't got yet.
Okay.
So, does this card have possible positive interactions? Yes. Is it possible I'm wrong because there's a series of cards that just actually get you something from that value? I think it's possible.
I don't think you're
But
wrong.
I actually think that there's a hidden cost in this card that people aren't
you have
understanding.
to fill your deck with these Laylas and those
and that's
Vikings.
what I'm talking about. That is a cost
That's
that
the
people are
cost.
not taking into account.
It's unlike Lena, which has a big body. He has
So
an interactive
there's
body.
2 cards with this name in this set. One of them you super want, one of them you never want. This card is unplayable and sealed for any reasonable deck. If you're playing this, you're screwed. In draft, this card's playable, but not good.
Oh man, you have to draft just.
Well, you can draft 2 colors sometimes. Some shops will let you do more than the 5 packs, like because it's a little better.
How can you play this in draft? This is really hard to play in draft.
It is hard to play, but you could just draft a bunch of lightning backups.
You have like a Lightning Earth deck. No, it's not good, but it's playable. This is like a bad forward in draft. It's
I
not
remember
playable in
even in
sealed.
Opus 3, do you remember that white Tiger Lucille that can only be played by the ice ones? It's just like that one.
You can play this from Al Cid, according to the creator. I tweeted him and he said yes. Actually,
he did.
Yeah, I thought
it's been ruled that because because this card says from hand, and now Sid plays from.
Did
hand.
I not do that? Didn't I do that? I thought we had that argument.
I don't know.
I remember this happening, but maybe I'm misremembering. It doesn't matter. Don't play this card.
No, it's you can play him from your break zone with like Devout.
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you can
okay, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay,
I think you can devout him, but it's just not worth it. If he was an 8 haste first striker, there's value. But I mean, haste is only good for 1 turn, right? And then first strike is good, but it's extra good in this game. But it's just not.
Don't play this card.
Don't play this card. Do play Titan. Titan does steroids, which you should not do. But you should play Titan. He does them so you don't have to. So 5 EX burst. When it comes into play, you get to do Hecton Share. So you make it so the creatures fight.
Yeah.
Let them fight.
It's better. It deals your forward's power to theirs and not back.
Yeah. So it's better.
Yeah.
It's better. He also gets plus 2,000. So you
it has EX burst.
So you can in a fight you can straight get the plus 2 to win the fight, then also
kill
something else.
2 for 1.
Yeah, so very good card. We'll definitely see all limited play. May see constructed play, but Hecton Share is so darn good. I feel like it's probably not. But hey, man,
maybe
if you have Graviton in your deck and it gives you plus 5,000, it's gonna
it'd be plus 2 from Graviton, plus 2.
I thought Graviton was plus 3.
No.
Well,
I think it's 2.
If it gets plus 4 and then does the thing, it has much more chance to be.
It
has much more chance to double trick. So
your double Titan is really good.
Yeah. Hello. And we're back.
Yay.
Yes. Okay. Live. Okay, so this is a zoo, which is a popular monster type in Final Fantasy. Been in Final Fantasy since 1, I believe.
It's also a popular place little kids go to.
I like the zoo. We went a while ago to the zoo, man. We saw a wolf trying to fight an elk.
Family belt. There was a family wolves versus a family elk. It was a showdown.
It was a great time. So this is a bird, though. So it's on the series of the monsters that can activate for 0. It becomes a 7,000, which is not good for a 4. That's undervalued. Yep. When you get the attack, you get to choose one of your backups and activate it. So it's really bad mana speed or color fixing. You need to play 2 things. You only got 1 ice backup. I think you play this card sometimes in limited, but it's just not great. It's like in Magic they call it like your 23rd card. You know, it's like on the fringes of playable. That's about it.
Yeah.
Not a constructed card. A decent little fucking limited card. Well, there's our boy Cactar.
It's a great card.
This card is kind of broken when you play with the rules where your backups can tap for anything in limited.
Yeah.
It's just kind of broken. It's still pretty darn close to broken, and when you play the normal backup rule, you can play backups for anything, because then you'll just have a lot of colors. Basically, if this is 4 for 8, it's fine. It's better than the red burn spells in the set at 4 for 8. It's like literally better than them on almost all occasions. And if it's 12 for 4, it's insane. Because I don't know why Fire can't.
Why can't Fire get this one? Why didn't Fire get this one?
Well, I guess it's color for Earth to have the multicolor matters. It's been in Earth. But I do agree with you in terms of why couldn't they get the higher power level burn spell.
Yeah.
I like this card because it's a simple Cactar, you know, and it does a thing. It's not super like exciting kind of a card. It's not flashy, but it's just good.
Yes, it's very strong.
I don't know how much play it'll see in Constructed because you don't really need that in these decks. But very good limited card, so we got that.
I think it gives Earth, like Earth Wind or removal spell they didn't really have. They didn't have anything that just outright killed something other than chaos.
This is the daughter of the president of Bastok in Final Fantasy XI, the greatest MOA of all time.
It's a girl.
And her job type is girl. Which I think is proof positive that the job type system in this game needs some kind of revisioning, because you can't get something job type girl. That's not a job. That's just her gender. And I think it's lazy and kind of ridiculous, especially because if the creator of the game did not know who she was, you can Google her, you can summon her in Final Fantasy XI to fight with you. She has a job. It's Geomancer, right? So we know proof positive she is a Geomancer, and so she should either have that type or call her. She should be a princess or like daughter of the leader of Bastok or something. But girl is not an acceptable card type, I feel like, and I just think it's lazy, quite honestly. It kind of annoys me. But I like the card art because I like seeing the 11 art because I'm a fanboy of 11. So some people don't like to see the PS2 art on the cards, I like it, but I can see why some people wouldn't. But let's talk about the card. So it's 2, comes into play, all your forwards get plus 1,000 power. I think normally in Limited you're just going to play it and it's not going to do anything in terms of that. Maybe it makes your 7s beat their 7s for a turn. Maybe. Probably not. In Constructed, it's a little better because you kind of know when your deck's attacking because of haste and stuff, right? But still, the plus 1,000 is not a big deal. They know it's coming, so it's not a trick. She can return herself to her hand, so you can save up. You can kind of save a mana for next turn if you really need one in some weird occasions, and you could trigger the effect again. But I just don't think she's a very good card.
I don't think so.
It's too bad she's not a forward, because then she could trigger Volker's ability when you play an 11 card, which would be great. You can search her with Star Sybil, but I don't think you want to. So I think it's kind of a miss. It's not a terribly designed card in terms of its text, but the job type is a little frustrating to me. Another 11 card. I think this is a really fun, well-designed card. It costs 2, doesn't do anything unless you have another Moogle. Note, it has to be a Moogle from 11. Not another Moogle, Moogle 11. You can discard it and then tap this, don't pay any mana, search for a card, and put it in your hand.
So it's only this card, right?
Only this Moogle. Or another 11 Moogle potentially in the future. But it has to be Moogle.
For now,
yes, it has to be Moogle 11. So I don't think you play this unlimited unless you have 2, you maybe play it, but then I still probably really wouldn't want to. But if you have 3, then you definitely do it. In Constructed, this is probably a play. If there's like a mono wind deck that has a particular card it just needs a lot, there isn't a searcher for, or even a wind X deck that again really needs a certain card. But most cards have better ways to tutor them. This can let you play a good toolbox package, but only sometimes. Not very reliable. In a Moogle deck that because you do have the Moogle searcher as well, the one, it makes it a little better. Another reason to play wind Moogles, but it's not like a great card. Well, I like this card. It's well designed because it's fairly elegant. You know,
Man, this one you don't have to show your opponent. Also.
you do.
Oh, you
You
actually
shouldn't
do?
have to. In every other card game I've ever played in my life.
When you're actually, it's just you get to search for anything. Why?
Yep. But in this game, they've made a mistake. I would say in the rules, search is a keyword that actually means, because see how it's in bold. It's a keyword that means look for X, reveal it. And
So you have to say it before you actually start.
You don't
No.
have to announce it,
No,
but
but
you
you
have to
have to-
reveal it.
You do have to.
The word
just
search
reveal it, okay.
means you must reveal it. So the way they worded it, I don't think they should have done that. I think it's a mistake. It makes these cards less good, and I think makes the game have less intrigue. But it's not like a huge problem.
Yeah.
Again, but when I say there's some problems with the game, I really like this game. Obviously, I just bought a case of this set, you know. So I'm really happy with the set. Really happy with the game. It's just a couple things I wish they'd do a little better, especially for some of us who've been playing. I played Star Wars TCG and Magic forever. Versus for a while. Lord of the Rings, both Lord of the Rings card games. All the card games. You just see little things that some games kind of perfected that this one has some problems with, but the inverse is true as well. There's a lot of things in this game that it does great that other games don't do good. So it's a very good game. Just a couple things like that. I don't know. I wish they were different, but still a good card. So this is a beautiful card, a lovely lady. She says hi. Her name's Fermilda. So 4 for 8 is fine, not impressive, but fine. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, Rift of the Gilmore. So that's a relevant type. So she's a Sword Saint, which is the way they've kind of decided to translate the Evilise, like Super Knight class. Because like Orlando or Tybalt in that game, or Delita towards the end of the game, or Agress, they're all kind of these advanced versions of knights that all have slightly different names. They're the ones that do the sword magic skills, if you play those games. They've decided to call a couple of them Sword Saints, which seems fine. The problem, though, is only 2 Orlandos and her are Sword Saints at the moment. And Bart's, obviously, because Bart's is total employment, because he's a communist. So when this comes into play, choose 1 active forward, which is kind of the stipulation for Lightning, and it does 4,000 plus X, or times X, where X is the number of Sword Saints you control. So I don't think that her and Orlando really work in the same deck, because Orlando's kind of like you have to chip something, and then you play him, and then kills it. And then I guess you could play that, and then you could play her, but there's kind of a lot of big halfway kill things that aren't El Cid.
It's a lot of cards that you have to keep back and wait and combo.
So I love the art on this card. Like she's adorable. I like her design. I like the whole look of the card. I think that it's really good in limited. You play this card in limited, it's just better than the other 4 8-drops, most of them, kind of by default. Because you play it second main phase to win a combat you lost is a great way to do it. I think she's good in title. I just don't think she'll probably see playing constructed. It's conceivable one day, but I don't think she's quite good enough.
I think we will see some play later. When Sword Saints, I mean that's the only
more
way.
Sword
More
Saints,
Sword Saints,
or if Lightning just has a lot of kind of double up damage, like Fire used to do, then she's good. You play this, do something else, All right, so we got through a lot of the comments, so we'll be going faster on these packs to do the cooler cards. So here's Soldier. This is again a very C card, 3 for 7. You can pay 2, give him plus 1,000 power. You always play this in sealed. You sometimes play it in draft. You never play it in constructed. You might play it in title if you really need it, maybe.
Yeah.
So, pretty standard card. What do you think about this card, Steve?
It's I lost to it, so I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Until the end of the turn, Colossus also becomes a forward with 7,000 power, and when Colossus attacks, deal 1,000 damage to all the forwards opponent controls. You can only use this ability once per turn. So
very average.
It's a
bad blocker. It's a decent attacker at best, but it costs 4.
Yep.
You play it if you gotta.
Yep.
Never see constructed play. Magitech armor is an irrelevant job type. Typo's fine, but there's other type 2 monsters if you really need one. It's just not good. It's like a C-, and
I don't know what it was, but when I was playing in the pre-release, I just couldn't get over the monsters, and this guy was playing a monsters kind of pre-release.
So monsters have an inherent advantage sometimes in certain matchups, certain card pulls, so they can be extra problematic. But typically, and if your deck can handle monsters or if you have ways to kill it, it's not great. It does trade with 8Ks really well, but it's a 4.
On
so
the attack.
So you expect it to be. So it's just worse than a 4 for 8 in most occasions. So again, not really something you want to be doing. So we have a new Ico. This is our 3rd Ico. Final Fantasy IX, which is a very relevant type. Most of the 9 cards are very well designed and very interactive with each other. She's a summoner type, which doesn't super matter. I think I don't think they gave it to Rydia. I don't know. So Rydia and Yuna are kind of like the other most famous summoners in the game. I believe Yuna has summoner on some of her cards. Doesn't matter.
Backup,
yeah, it doesn't matter at the moment though. But if you play a summon, then she costs 1, which is fine. You could probably do that in Water. Water has some very good summons, but she doesn't have a come into play effect or a static effect, so who cares? She does have an S ability, which lets you search for one summon and add it to your hand. She has to tap for it, but it doesn't cost mana. That's fine, but the 2-drop one lets you grab summons from... If you have 4 summons in your break zone, you can grab one. And the 3-drop other one lets you grab a 9 character. So I think that this one... Yeah, 9 forwards. I think this is just not a good icon.
I think it's just worse than those other 2.
So I just don't think she's probably...
I don't even really like the 2-drop one, but like the 3-drop...
I think she's quite good in Tidal.
Yes.
She's pretty darn good in Tidal, actually. I think she makes that deck much better. Because you're going to play 3 of the 1 and maybe... 3 of the 1. And then you'll probably play 2 of this one. And so, if you have her in play, you're going to be doing her ability at least once or twice a game. Although, are there 9 summons? Actually?
I'm not certain. If there
are 9 summons, I don't know if there
and if they do something relevant.
If they make a good Bahamut or Alexander one day, but... That's an effect that could be there for the future, but not a great card. I don't think you really are going to play it unlimited unless you really need a water card. So this is another Crystal Chronicles one, kind of weird card. It cost 4 for backup, so we really needed to have a good come into play effect or something to be worth it. So if you control Leo, who's a legendary 1 cost that makes all your lands cities of brass, so they can tap for 1 of anything. If you do it, the cost to play it is reduced by 2, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. So you can play him, and this... Yeah, you could discard a card to play this, and after you played him with your backup you played on turn 1, so that's a pretty good play. And when it enters the field, you get to choose 1 forward opponent controls. You may return 1 forward. You control to owner's hand. If you do, return the chosen forward to its owner's hand. So you get to both bounce a card. So you can pick back up your Leon in that circumstance, which isn't, great. So I don't think it's a great card, but it is a backup that can unsummon something and let you re-trigger when you're coming to play effects. Problem is, I think it's only good if it costs 2. And I don't think Leo is a card that is easy to build around. He's a very fragile card with a really interesting ability. But there's this thing in a lot of card games where if there's only 1 card that has the effect, it's really hard to build a deck around it. You kind of need 2. Or you need super good tutors for it.
Or the effect has to be incredible. It has to be game-breaking, yeah.
And Leo is a very interesting, fun card. I think he's a well-designed card. It's just that he's the only card that gives you that kind of Birds of Paradise-like effect. And so it's hard to base your whole deck around this card that has no protection. And so I don't really think this is a great card. In Limited, if you have no tricks or removal, you can run this as just some way to do something. But it's really not a card you're going to want to be playing too much.
Yep.
Hades is pretty darn good in Limited.
Yes.
Level 5, no EX Burst. It's a Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. Choose 1 doll forward. Break it. So that's good. They attack. You don't have to block. You just play your Hades, kill it. Then they have to discard a counter. So they were saving a forward to play second main phase. As their 1 card in the hand. That sucks for you. The downside is this is a 5-cost summon you can only play on their turn. Right, so that's kind of a downside. So I don't think this card is great in Limited, great in Constructed. Although, maybe, but
I think we'll see some play.
I think it's kind of down on the list because they have Shiva. I think it's just so good.
Yeah, I think this card is good, but the problem is there's a lot of competition for spots in the decks.
What's the really good 4-drop they have that just breaks things of prime numbers?
Oh, Zalera.
Yeah,
so Zalera, you have Shivas, you have Glassy Labolas, just there's so many cards.
I feel like it doesn't have a home in Constructed, but it's a good Limited card. You play it in Sealed almost every time, and pretty much every time in Draft. So Siren, we have a couple of water cards actually to this. There's Leviathan, same thing as a 1-drop that gives, plus 2,000 to
all water forwards.
Including theirs.
Yeah.
Which if you have Garnet out, you get an additional plus. Yeah. You can also, there's the other Garnet, the not played one, that can actually play these for free from your deck when you play them. It's choose 1 water forward, it gains plus 4,000 to turn EX Burst. So this is pretty bad in Sealed because you're not going to have too many of 1 color. And in Draft, this is quite a bit better because you're normally 3 colors in Draft, right? So there are 3 in a splash.
Yeah.
So this is
2
much.
In a splash,
this,
maybe.
this, It's 3 in a splash. I mean, Maybe. I've never got 2. Not with the 6-pack draft. Maybe with the 9-pack draft.
I've gotten like 2 and then 2 small splashes.
Yeah, but you lost
like,
though.
You
lost, Drew.
Guess that proves that.
You should have won 3. So
Should have won.
if you would have won, it would have been right. Yeah, I mean, you know, she doesn't have a shirt and she doesn't have enough utility. I feel like it's the problem with this card. You know, play it in the draft with a lot of water forwards. Otherwise, don't play this card. Summoner. Costs 2, and you can break it, and then one of your summons costs 2 less. So it can basically tap for 2 if you want to lose it back up on a summon. I think maybe this has some constructed playability as like a backup you don't break too often, but on a deck with a lot of summons, like with Minwoo, just helps you play something sometimes that you can't otherwise play for like big swings.
So doesn't this technically actually reduce your cost by 1 because you have to tap this one? In theory,
I don't know if technically, but in summation, yes.
Right, because if you just played it just normally,
yeah, so you basically can tap for 2 is a way to think of it. If you lose it, it can tap for 2 for something. Yeah. So it's like a ancient tomb.
You can play it early, and then later on, it's as if you kept it in your hand. So it's
not a terrible. I think in some I was trying it out in a summon fire deck that didn't work out.
Yeah.
The build didn't work out, but it wasn't terrible. So I think it's conceivable to constructed play, but it's not like a flashy card that is definitely going to see play. And I think in limited, it's pretty just bad. You play it if you need a water forward or water backup, and maybe it does something. But you know,
it has done something for me in limited. So
yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I
actually underrated this card in limited. He's a captain, so you know, like he's
higher rank than all of us.
Yeah, he's a higher rank. He's Final Fantasy 2, which is a relevant card type now. And yeah, I mean, if he can trade with anybody somehow with a trick, then they lose their card and discard a card from their hand. Or I mean,
Mateus.
Can you imagine
Mateusing with this one or something?
Yeah, I feel like if you play this first turn and then you attack, they probably don't have a blocker that early anyway, and you hit them, and then next turn you play a snow, or you play one of the 2-drop discard cards and then attack. I mean, they probably don't have a card yet. If they do, you could Mateus if you really wanted to, which is probably bad value for you, but if they dropped like a 4-drop, then that's good value for you. And then after that, they kind of have to worry about Mateus again the rest of the game, right? So I think he's better than he looks, but the problem with him is a lot of times where he's just not good. They don't care about the card in their hand, or if you don't have a Mateus, or if they have something Mateus doesn't interact well with, you just have a really bad card. So his upside's quite strong, but his downside's also quite bad.
Well, I mean, once it goes down and he breaks, at least you get the discard.
Well, they may not care. Maybe a backup they already have or something, right? So then you just low value. So I think this is like a B-, C+ kind of card in constructed. So it's a maybe. And limited, sure. If you play well with it in limited, it's fine. I wouldn't like first pick it or anything, but it's fine in limited, you know. He's a captain. Plus, he's a Final Fantasy 2 card. Still, they're bad players playing their Leons. So another Final Fantasy 11 card, so I'm all about that. This card's insane.
It is quite solid. I like it.
It's crazy.
I had it in limited, and I just got to discard my summons early on instead of keeping them, like 5-cost summons like Titan that I didn't want to discard, right? But I'm like, oh, this is going to be a slow game. I'll get them back. And I did. And so very good. So the ability to pick up 2 cards gives it a virtual cost of 1.
Yeah.
It's not, I think it's inaccurate to say that's the exact same as it costing 1. But it has a virtual cost of 1 if you were to return 2 summons to your hand. And it can also play a summon with no restrictions now. It can just play a summon from your hand. So it doesn't matter if it costs 7, if it costs 11, or if it costs 11. You can play it. So that's a lot. So I think that's a really cool ability. I really like the design on this card. I think it's really interesting and creates a lot of fun kind of, ooh, what should I do with Earth summons? I think it's one of the best designed cards in the set. I also really like it as a Windhurst kind of nationalist from 11. So fantastic card. It kind of outshines Minfilia, the Legends, I think, which is a little unfortunate. But they can play nice in the same deck together in some weird Earth, super value, go long, play Shantoto all the time, be annoying deck. Obviously, play in limited, I don't think we need to explain that too much. But this is a great card. It will definitely see play. We'll probably see play for a long time, and I really like it. Yep. So here's from the best Final Fantasy VI. This is our opera singer, former general, rune knight, almost committed suicide heroine Celeste. So she's 2 for 5, which is fine. Not great, it's fine. You can pay 2 ice to give her plus 3,000. Bad thing is you can only do this once per turn. But you can jump her up and trade with 8Ks. She's a pretty decent 2-drop. 6 is a great type to have in the game. I don't think she'll see constructed play because, like, Celeste's S ability, the good Celeste, the 4-drop one, is pretty good, but you don't use it like that much. So I don't think you really need another one for that deck. Or do you need a smaller Celeste because you're just going to play the other one? And limited, I think you just play this most of the time, but it's not like great. It is a little less good in draft because you can pick better things. But in draft, you can have more ice backups, so you can use without discarding a card. But this is a decent card. You just kind of play it.
It's good against Paul, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I would actually pick it sometimes.
It has some value.
Yeah,
it's
Paul
and it's Celeste, you know, so that's cool. This is Fishman. He was in the Oscar-winning movie that recently came out about a lady and a fishman. And it costs 3. It can be 6,000, so that's not great. But you kind of get 1 undercosted on monsters a lot, I feel like, in order for them to get the advantage of being a monster. When he attacks, you get to Merfolk loot, so draw a card, discard a card. Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to do this a couple times for it to matter, but since he's a 6K, you're not going to get to be able to do it a couple times. If you have enough tricks in your deck so you get to do it, and if they're stupid enough to block it, you wreck them for it, very well. But otherwise, it's just not a great card. I had it in sealed twice and decided not to play it. I think it's slightly better in draft because you get them late because they won't be high picks. Then you kind of plan to have one, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you have this Siren card, for example, like in your heavy water deck that normally wouldn't be super good. If you have like 2 of these and 2 of these Sirens, these are going to be like last pick cards, right? So this is like a free part of your deck that you get that's bad cards that became good. So draft, some bad cards are better because they're synergies, but in sealed, this kind of interaction is just not very good. And as a mono monster player, you can just trust me, this is not a good card for a mono monsters deck. It's just not gonna see play. So let's go through some cards here. We got Locke, another Final Fantasy VI card, so that is great. Good to hear. We like Locke. He's a treasure hunter, not a thief, so that's on point. 4 for 7 is bad. But when you play him, you have to reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you get a 6 card, you get to draw it. So that's
okay, cool.
So that's good. Because there's many very, very good 6 cards. In fact, pretty much all of them are good. Like the worst one's Umaru, and he's seen top 8 play because he's still good. The 6 is the best Final Fantasy game, which is a scientific fact. There's many studies on it, and they proved it. And all the 6 cards are good, and this card's good too. It's not great, but it's good because
it helps the other Locke.
It helps the other Locke. Mirage Drive, which if you didn't know is the hidden limit break system in Final Fantasy VI. They each have, it can be triggered. Mirage Drive is if Locke's about to die, he'll do like a hell amount of damage. It's like some crazy modifier of his deck's bonus. He does damage. And so that's his special, and this lets you grab things, and then if you don't need it, you can special with Locke. So I think that if you have like a Final Fantasy VI title deck, or I used to play like a red Ice 6 deck, which is surprisingly better than I think people would think it is, I'd probably run one of this in there. So it's a nice card to have because it does some fun stuff for the game, but not a great card. And limited, you'd only play it if you have 3 other 6 cards in your deck.
Yeah.
Which you could definitely have in a mixed draft. In mixed draft, this card's value goes way up, I think, especially if you have a lot of Opus 4. But in this format, you normally don't run it. This guy's like kind of strictly worse than the Black Mage.
Yeah.
So he's good and limited because, you know, you can trade up to things or you can combo things. But in constructed, this is just worse than Black Mage, who is seeing less play. So pretty simple there.
Yeah, and you can't even really combo with like Cactuar to like kill something relevant. So
yeah, it's just not that good. So this card's a bit scandalous looking, but is a good card. She's basically a bad Jill. She's 2, choose 1 forward, opponent controls freeze it. But she does have an ability that's not an S ability that she gets to use, which is pay 4, put her in the break zone, choose 1 doll forward, break it. You can only use this ability during your turn. Also, she can be searched for with our ninja boy here. So he's quite strong. If you have any other thing that you can search for, you always run this card in your sealed deck, always.
Yep.
And it's a good reason to be ice unlimited. Yeah, it's a pretty good card because it can be searched for and it does a bad Jill thing. It has a second effect. I don't know if it's good enough to make this standard mono ice build, but it's a good, well-designed, interesting card, has positive interactions, that's really good in title, and it's good in limited, and it's good enough to be in some version of an ice deck one day that's more typo-based card. Yeah. So I like this card. I think it's well-designed. Rubid Dragon. He's a dragon, and he costs 2, and you sacrifice it, you do 8 damage. So it's good.
That's fine.
It's fine. This is a C+ card.
Yeah.
It's good. Does 8 for 4. You can pay it, do later. It doesn't get to be a trick, so it's worse kind of than really if it's just 4 for 8. But, you know, it does the best it can. So this is Leviathan. And we have a 3-cost Leviathan who's really good. Okay, so this is Leviathan. And this card's great. So right off the bat, it does the exact same thing that the Final Fantasy Tactics Opus 1 Leviathan does, which for a while was the best card of the game. Saw a little less play, partly I think because water got a little less good, other colors got better, and this lets it come into play effects, so bouncing got less good overall.
Yeah.
But it's still a very strong card, and a lot of times this will cost 2 in mono water decks, either with Garnet or backup unit.
Right.
So right off the bat, it's the same card except for no EX Burst, which is a pretty big cost to pay, because that's a great EX Burst to have a lot of times. But we get 2 more abilities, so let's see if those 2 abilities are worth losing the EX Burst. The first one is choose 1 action ability, cancel its effect. That's awesome. That's a Stifle effect, and that's really strong in this game, because they don't give you a lot of counter magic in this game, because there's not as much interactive ability as there is in some other card games. But this is... I think that's a great ability. And in Limited, I used it to a lot of effects and was really happy with it. I think it's just better and constructed. Especially canceling effects are really good for backups that break. Because they broke their damn backup, and you're like, and you get nothing for it. They feel really bad. It might make them tilt, quite honestly, and make a mistake. Like if they break Star Sybil, and you're like, nope. That's a pretty darn good play. Because they searched for their Star Sybil. So the turn they play their Star Sybil, they determined, I'm going to have this card in play next turn. So they picked their card, invested their mana, grabbed the card of the deck for a specific reason. So they basically invested 2 turns into this effect. And you say, not today. They'll probably curse. Your opponent will probably curse at you. And also, when you play this, I highly recommend you go, from Jurassic Park. I think that will, it's good sportsmanship. Its third ability, it says, during this turn, the forwards you control don't receive any damage from summons. Now, this is for your whole turn.
Yep.
So, if someone plays this, here, where's that one summon card, the big Bahamut?
The Bahamut that does EX Burst.
So this happened to me, yeah. I got to cancel one of these with Leviathan, which is really, it felt really good. I'm still feeling pretty good about it. But the last effect is really good, and it says for the rest of the turn, so they can't like double that up or anything. Although they can go over the stack and do it, but they can't do it later. This is a good card. I actually think that it might make up for the EX Burst, or you can do like a 2-1 split or something. But this is a great card. You should always play this and seal it. You can make blue mana. You play the card. You always play it in draft. It's a reason to go blue if you get it really early. If there's anything else in the pack, that's great. And it's just a great card. Really well designed. Very happy with this card. It's also a 7, if that matters to anybody. Yashitola, you played this deck, I think, a bit. You want to talk about this card?
I have never played this deck.
Okay, well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, she's kind of become one of the major characters of Final Fantasy XIV. I think they've kind of selected her as kind of the,
poster child.
Yeah, like they did with Shantotto for 11. So she's a Mithra. And her job type is Scion of the Seventh Dawn, which is a relevant job type because there's lots of those, and they care about how many you have in play. Problem was all the Ishitolas were wind, but the deck's mostly earth and lightning, so it's kind of like, man, Ishitola. So this is good they made this. I think this is really good design from the team. They saw that there needed to be an earth one. I don't know if they planned that beforehand, but regardless, it's good design that they did this now. So she has 3 abilities. The first one is she can't be broken by opposing summons or abilities that don't deal damage. So that's straight terror, dark banishing effects, right? So we're talking, in this game, we're like Odin stuff, right? Like, you can't Odin her.
Or Mateus her.
Yeah, things that just kill can't kill her. Also, if you control 3 or more, Signs of the Seventh Dawn, other than her, she gains Brave, which you'll probably do about 80% of the time in her deck. You won't in limited very often.
Yeah.
I actually did once last night, and felt pretty good. But not very often will that occur. But in their deck, she'll most often have Brave. And cards in that deck often have Haste. So Brave and Haste, 8k, pretty good. When she attacks, choose one forward opponent controls. If you control 5 or more Scions, it deals 8,000 damage.
5 or more, or 5 other.
You control 5 or more.
It's 5 other. Or more.
It says other after that, which is a little. I would have worded that differently, but that doesn't matter. So if you control 6 total,
okay,
which is conceivable. It's not. I think it's like the spitball, but 40-50% of the time that can happen in this deck. So not too bad, really. I don't think this card's like amazing in that deck because just having Brave and can't being killed in the AK is good but not amazing. But she can get her last ability, and if you have that with Yada, who does damage when she attacks, they're kind of just dead.
Yeah,
it's really hard to survive that. Even if they have a Minwu or something, so much of their stuff is going to die. It's just going to be death everywhere, man. It's going to be like the end of Infinity War. And I'm not even talking the movie. I'm talking the comic book. There's just going to be death. So, yeah, it's a good card. You play it in limited because it's a 4/8k with a plus ability, which is pretty much only the first ability. But it's a possibility, right? It's just better than the Pain card in most... No, it's worse than the Pain card.
Yes.
But only slightly worse than the Pain card. So, good card. Happy they made it. Good inclusion. Looks pretty cool. Help us crack open some packs, Drew, because we got most of the commons and uncommons, so let's try to get through some rares.
Yeah, so we'll just move them all to your side.
Okay, so this guy's a warrior. We talked about him earlier. So a good thing about this card is that he's a warrior that costs 2. He's very much on curve. When he comes into play, you get to get something 2,000 power. It doesn't matter what type that thing is. Anything can get 2,000 power. So that's pretty solid. I think you play this in limited almost all the time. But if the thing you give if the thing you give power to is an 8 card, it gets First Strike and Brave, which is pretty darn solid, and Haste. He can't choose himself, but it's pretty darn solid. If 8 title decks are going to run this card every single time, I think. And I think that, it doesn't make Warriors good enough as a constructed deck or even really casual deck. It just makes 8 stuff better. Pretty solid card. I like the interaction. I think it's well designed. Not a lot more to say because, it's just a little fast red card. But this is, I think, the kind of stuff that makes red better is actually being efficiently and fast. So I like that card. What do you think about this Moogly card, Drew?
I like it a lot. First of all, it's called Moogle Brothers, and there's 3 cute Moogles on it. Dig that.
Yep, that's a plus.
It's also got some really good abilities. It comes into play, and you go reveal the top 5 cards, and if there's a Moogle amongst them, you get to put it into your hand. So it virtually costs 1.
I wish they'd keyword that.
Yeah.
Look at the top 5, choose one. They should call that something.
Yeah, but then it's...
No, you call it that and then give it a type.
Yeah, okay, then give it like an X. Yeah, that makes sense.
Just like a Magic, it'd be a hyphen. And
yeah. Which is good. So it virtually costs 1 if you get a Moogle. And in the Moogle's deck, you probably have a lot, so that's pretty good.
Because there's Moogle backups too, so you have a large chance.
And then its second ability is you get to sacrifice it, and then you get to play a Moogle of cost 2 or less from your hand. I'm not quite certain how good that is. It's
if
nice.
You play the forward.
That costs 2 or less. The forward costs 4 and 3 are the 2 Moogles.
Well, it helps you get a Moogle out, then you can play a better Moogle.
Yeah, then you can break this, so that's nice, and then you get to play another one. So that last part's okay, but it's mostly good because you get some consistency in which Moogle you get.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a cool card.
Yeah.
Don't think it's great. Don't play in limited unless you are playing multi-pack draft. But it's a cool card. Crystal Chronicles card, you can search for it. So it's actually better if you're kind of down on your luck for Earth stuff and have the Searcher guy. The 3-cost Searcher guy.
The 3-cost Searcher guy grabs a forward, I believe.
Oh, well then, forget what I had to say. How about this guy? The Cooge Master lives in a tree, rides a Lugia.
That sounds like him.
He does. So he's 5 for 9. He's basically a fair but stronger Genesis. And
has an EX burst.
He has an EX burst, so that's amazing.
Solid, yep.
And you can put 2 ice backups into the break zone from play. They have to be in play. And then he comes back into play and gets to use his ability again.
Yep.
I think this will probably be a one of in ice decks at the moment. I think that it's conceivable that there's an ice wind or ice water Final Fantasy IX deck. I think that's not impossible, and he's great in title. Yeah, and this is an auto include and limited in all formats. You would splash to play it in every single limited deck. You would never not include it.
Really, you only think it's a one of in a constructed deck?
No, I think that the most popular build of Mono Ice probably only runs one of it.
Really,
especially because you can get it back. But there are builds where you would run more because it's good enough.
Right.
It's just they have Genesis and Orphan and stuff. But
I think because of the EX burst, it might.
Sure, and some people value the EX burst extra highly. It's a very good card. It's well designed. I really like it. Probably a $10 card. So good card. This guy. So he's from the Heaven's Ward part of Final Fantasy XIV. Job type Archbishop. I don't know why they don't give them King or something so they can be. More
he's
direction.
Archbishop. He's not a king.
Sure, yeah. So it's 5. He has the X burst. When he enters the field, you get to search for a card. That's your hand. Remember, you have to reveal it. And also, if he dies, you get to draw a card, which I don't think will happen too much in blue. And they're not going to archer it. I promise you that. But maybe if
you can't even archer it anyways. Archer's 3 or less.
Oh, yeah, I forgot because it doesn't really come up that much.
Maybe someone would heck not care for you. Share for
I guess in Earth, Wind, or Earth, Water, you can delete it or something. I don't think it's going to die too much. But 5, you get to search for anything. It's pretty good. I think you play it limited almost all the time. It's not really a great card, but
it's still good to have for that EX.
It is a good card. EX bursting is very nice. It's a good card. It could see play in constructed. I feel like you get to tutor for the things you really want to in this game. Because like if you're playing the Water 9 deck, you have things to tutor for your 9 cards.
I'll be really honest with you.
Also with 50 cards and drawing 2 cards a turn, that on top of the tutors, you just consistently get to do what your deck is designed to do.
Yeah, but my thing was, if I wanted to play a FF2 deck, right, a Final Fantasy 2 deck, they don't have searchers.
Sure.
So if I'm running the Minwu and all that stuff, I might. Oh, that's a nice pull. That is a nice pull. I might be running a little bit more of those.
Okay. We also just opened a foil Kucha, so I just thought we should share that. Black Mage guy. I think this card is you play him in your limited deck if you're playing that color.
I would not.
It's hard to blow up, but I mean, you have to draw some backups, and you might as well draw backups with a high upside. You don't play much. I cracked it once when I played it in my sealed. It was fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did actually beat Drew because of it. So
I had 2 in my deck, and I actually used them a decent amount of the time.
I think he's decent in sealed. Sealed slower decks are bad.
Yeah.
If you're playing where backups can tap for anything, he's better.
Yeah. I think he's okay in limited.
He's bad in constructed.
Yes.
He's a standard unit if that matters. I actually like this card. I think this card has a pretty powerful effect. Doesn't mean it's always good, but it's very powerful because it says draw a card every turn. Pretty much,
not
right?
every turn.
Well, it gives you a prop to draw a card. I don't know, what?
I think the problem with it is
that
if it's not a backup, then it goes straight to the break zone, and I don't like that.
I think so the problem with that is you're assuming that you're only doing it if you want a backup. Right, so it's not like you're losing a forward.
I see what you're saying. If you really need to draw backups,
you don't tap it if you want to draw a forward, obviously, right? You only tap it if you want a backup.
Okay.
So you either get what you want, or you have an increased chance of getting what you want next turn, or you look at the damn top card of your deck with Ice Girl, Ice Girl's best, Geomancer second best, or if you're like a mono monster deck or something, you have Kitty Cats, Schrodinger's to look for. So I like this card. Will it see a lot of play? I don't know. It's a
probably not.
It's a positive effect that can get better with time, especially if there's a good forward that lets you peek. Right, that comes out. I like this card. I actually played it in limited and was happy with it. I would play it in limited again, and I think it's good. It's just not great. Just be mindful when you use it. You can't just do this every turn.
Yeah.
So this card is actually surprisingly a hero. I didn't know that when we first got it. I threw it in the comment pile. Typo card, meaningless job type, cost 2, so that's good. You can tap it. Play a lightning and discard a summon, search for a summon. So you basically have to pay 2 and you could switch any summon in your hand for any other summon. I don't think that's good.
So, first of all, why are you playing a summon in your deck in the first place that is bad, that you need to switch it out with something?
Yeah, I guess it lets you toolbox,
especially in a constructed, right? Already you're probably running summons that you like to see, right? When you're trying
I think you play this in limited just because you probably have a couple really good summons. that you want to get to, but it's not like great in limited.
And you also have to have a summon in your hand too.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a good card, but I think you just kind of play it and it's fine. Yeah. But I don't know. It's a fact that I think it's decent for the game to have this card. I don't really think it should have been a hero, and it's not like a great card. It could be better in the future in a version where like there's cards that care about summons in your graveyard, like Shiva. That kind of stuff allows you to get the thing that actually get the pluses, like Ifrits and Shivas that care about how many you have, kind of total thing. So that could be good, right? So that's
I just totally forgot that you can probably get like rid of a Shiva to get like the Zalera.
So that kind of effect is good. So I think it's a good design card in that regard. It's just right now it's not very interesting. So here's the Riku, 3 for 7. Gull Wings can't be chosen by opponent's abilities. Same thing we have to say about the other Gull Wings, really. Its effect is like the Gust Wing effect from Onslaught and Magic the Gathering. You can discard a Riku. You remove it from combat, so she's no longer in combat. It's fine. You play in a Gull Wings deck, I guess, but the other Riku's so good, I think that's kind of a problem.
Maybe.
I guess you run her. I guess she's better.
Yeah, I think this one's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fine. You play it in limited because it's 3 for 7 with an ability. Okay, so Light didn't have a backup for itself that really supported you playing more Light cards.
It did.
In a positive way, because Cosmos doesn't like draw you any cards or anything like Camelot. Right? This card draws you more Light cards and lets you play more Light cards, so it's like an actual like pro Light card maneuver. It's kind of slow though.
Yeah,
it's 4-drop.
Yeah, it's a 4-drop. It's virtual, too, but not really because it's a Light card.
Yeah,
you can't discard the other card. I think if you want to play like the Water Light Wind deck with Ultima or whatever, then this card makes that deck better. It's not a great card. Her outfit's ridiculous looking. You never play this unlimited unless you have a Hirschfagel.
Like I did.
Then it's fine. It's good they made this card. They needed to make it, but it's not great. Zell. Actually, when I first read this card, I thought it was bad, and then I played it, and then I thought it was mediocre.
Upgrade.
Yeah, so he's 4 for 4, which is terrible. He has a kind of relevant job type. He's an 8 card. So he has haste, which is great. And when he comes into play, you can do 4,000 damage, basically, to something. Or you can kill monsters that cost 2 or less. So you can kill, like, Goblin and some of the other 2-drop ones that we mentioned with Ramu with him, which is fine.
But there's a lot of 3s and 4s.
But there's a lot of 3s and 4s.
Yeah, that's
the deal 4 thing doesn't matter a lot. I ran him in limited because there's a card that searches for him, which is, we'll show you right here, Selfie. Searches for that type. And so I think if you have one of her, you run a Zell.
Yeah.
Because you get the card, you can discard it or whatever. So we'll just do her real quick too. Basically, same thing. She searches for this candidate, which not the old one. It has to be the whole name. So they split them up. So she's a really good card if you have at least one candidate, and if you have 2, then it's real good and limited.
Yep.
She'll probably see constructed play if there is a deck that cares about that. She'll obviously see constructed play in Tidal. So,
they'd be experts.
Yeah, so 3 costs the expert. So she's a good backup for her type. So
yeah,
that's all I would say about those. This squall is pretty cool. The Almano art's awesome. I think it's a really well-designed card. It's a hero. It looks like a hero. It looks cool, right? So it's 2 for 5, which isn't great, but if they have 2 or less cards in their hand, it gets hastened for strike. Well, that's pretty awesome. And if they have no cards in their hand, he's a 3,000 power haster for striker.
He gains plus 3,000.
Which is good. The other thing would be bad. So, quite a good card. You're always going to play this card if you have it in your limited pool, I feel like. And it could be constructed playable. Again, it's really hard to make ice slots.
Yeah.
It's really hard to make them. I think Squall have an S ability, the other Squall, the legendary one from Opus 1.
Opus 1 has S ability.
So, that's another Squall for that. It's hard to beat Thaumaturge.
Yeah.
Thaumaturge is so good. But there could possibly be a super fast ice deck annoying attack you all the time thing. So he's a really good card. We'll see if he can fit. That's what we're kind of saying with all the ice cards, Can't be certain until we test them. Some people might tell you they know for sure, but they don't know for sure. You got to test these things. But good card. I like the design. Very cool. This is Sid from Final Fantasy XI. He's a citizen of Vostok. He's an engineer. When he enters the field, you get to choose one of the 2 things. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card from among them, put the rest in your break zone. Actually, I like that first ability. I guess that's how Red draws cards in this game. It looks to put them in the break zone. I think that works.
I like it.
I think that's a flavorful way for Red to draw cards. I think it's well designed. And its next ability is you get plus 3,000, so opposite of Cyclops.
Yeah, all your
forwards get plus 3,000. I like this card.
I do too.
And limited, it's kind of like an overrun in Magic, right? It's like the not today boy kind of fucking thing, right? So that's really good. And the draw card, you know, is also really good. You get the search, you get the card you want.
It has good early game potential and good late game.
I think this card will see playing constructed.
Yep.
And I think you always play this in limited if you're playing red.
I think you'll see playing constructed if, you know, red do things.
To the extent that red is a constructed color.
Yeah.
So this is Hilda. It's 6. She's a princess, everyone.
That matters.
And from 2, which matters. And when she enters the field, you get to draw 1 card for each forward you control up to 4. I actually really wish they didn't print up to 4. I think it was a mistake. I think it makes the card less kind of fun and exciting to build around. Because I don't think drawing that many cards is as powerful in this game as it is in other games.
Yeah.
Because there's not like Stormy kind of combo stuff. You're not going to break it. You're just going to play a bunch of forwards at the best. But in that scenario where you play like draw 6 things, you get to play 2 forwards out of that, and now you have way too many damn forwards in play. You're gonna get Shantoto'd.
and then you might deck out because you drew a bunch of 6 cards.
I mean, I feel like they should just let people get what they could get out of it. But I like the design of this card. I think this is a fun card. I think it's really good in sealed. I think this card is nuts in sealed because everybody has a bunch of forwards and isn't attacking each other. I think in draft it's pretty good, and I think it doesn't have a home in constructed at this moment exactly, but it's really good. I think Cognazio decks might play it because they like to build a good board because they have like Griffia and everything. So I really like this card. I'm excited to try it out. I don't know if it's better on average than the what's her face, Marrowweb? Yeah. Because Marrowweb has the X burst too, so I think on average Marrowwebs in your deck will draw you more cards than this will on average.
And you don't have to have 4
Well, yeah, so I think on the mean it's a better card, but this card has a higher upside. I don't know which is more valuable. But it's a cool card. I like it. I'm glad this card exists. And Almano art is beautiful. So we got Illusionist. I actually think this card is really darn good. 2 cost backup. And sacrifice it, they have to attack you with something. A note in the rules here. If they have 3 forwards and you sack and make target one of them, it has to attack. The effect goes through. It doesn't have to attack first. It just has to attack before the attack phase is over.
Yep.
So it's a really good card. I think you play this in limited whenever you have it. So you can make one of the techie creatures swing into your 8K. Note though, good players will know you have that and might have an effect ready. So just, you know, be mindful of that. But in limited it's really good because it can make it so they have to attack you and then, you know, that thing can't block. Or you block it with your Emperor's Ande or whatever. So I think this card is one of the best red cards in the set, quite honestly. Yeah. And being F2A is not an irrelevant type. It's a relevant type. So, you know, good card. I like this card. It's simple, too. Well designed. This card is awesome. I think it's one of my favorite red cards in the set. It also looks like the butterfly meme of the, you know, that. So I like that. I think that's good. Typo, she's a Lassie, because you remember Typo and 13 were supposed to be connected at one point, but then everything got messed up, and we never got any games for 10 years. So it costs 6, so that right away we're worried as shit. But it says, if a forward deals damage by a fire summon, the damage decreases by 1,000. Red has needed that text for a long time. I've been arguing ad nauseum that they needed a 2-drop backup that had that text to fix red. So, but at least something has it. Right? They definitely needed that kind of thing. Very important. But we're not paying 6 for that. So we really want something good. So when she enters the field, you may search for 1 fire summon of cost 4 or less and play it without paying its cost. If you don't cast it, put it in the break zone. That's great. You can grab Phoenix, so you can wipe their board a little bit. Not wipe it, you know, tell their board to watch out. And then grab a 2-drop and put it in the play if you really want a 2-drop. It will also allow you to play the good Bahamut or other red cards that exist in the future.
That one, the EX one, where it fucks.
No, don't do that. But this card's good. This card is good, and it will only get better when there is more things that cost 4. Even if they finally print the 2-drop that does the first thing on a want, then you have 2 of them.
It kind of is a 2-drop that has
it's conceivable.
It virtually.
Yes, sub-virtually.
Yeah, because you have
little less so than the other ones. But this is a good card. I think it's really well designed. I think it's really fun because like it does something in play and it does something when you play it. So like it's just fun. It's a good card.
Oh, actually, it is actually. You get to search for it from your deck, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have to have it in your hand.
No.
So it's actually a really good card.
No, I think this is a very good card, and I really like it. I think it's really well designed.
Open some up and.
Okay, here's a card I had last night that I really liked. I had him in sealed, Sid. So this Sid It costs 4. It's a backup, Final Fantasy 2. And he lets you, and he looks beautiful in foil. All the Almano cards look beautiful in foil. He lets you search for any of the evokers and put them into your hand. So if you play this first turn limited, you're getting evokers every turn. I think you play this in sealed. I don't think it's great in draft. It's just like okay. I know you can plan it to get more evokers, but and you're actually hold on. You'll probably get those evokers for free in draft. No, I think it's equally good in draft because of the way people pass. You'll get those evokers for free. You won't have to draft them. Yeah. It's a really good card in limited. In constructed, this is one of those cards where I think the kind of Timmy players are just like,
How can I abuse this?
Do I think this is busted now? No. Do I think you should try to build a weird deck around it and see what happens? Yes, I do.
Yes, I do think
it's also really good in the Final Fantasy II title deck because they're not going to have a lot of backups and they're going to have tons of evokers.
Are the evokers from 2?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, that's true. You are correct. You are correct.
Should know something about title for you.
I should.
Open your big mouth.
Not that big. It's narrow size.
Yeah, it is. It's too bad. So, good card, though. Well designed. I like the card. Dark Knight. This is some emo stuff right here. If you really like My Chemical Romance, you should play this card. It's 3 for a 9,000, and if it ever gets in a fight, it does 4,000 to itself on account of the emo-ness. The standard unit. You play this card in limited because you kind of just have to and never be happy about it.
I do not.
I had to, and I
I
wasn't happy about it.
I played a lot.
I don't like this card. It's really boring. I mean, like, you play it if you need a creature.
Well, next time you can tell it to go down the street instead of across, right? So that'll just do.
Also, all these.
So here's Guy.
Yay!
You talk about Guy. You like that game.
I like Guy. It's from FF2. I think Guy is really good if fucking FF2 had some backup searchers and stuff like that, but I'm a little disappointed in that because all the rebels are from, it's going to be from the category 2, but the problem is you won't be able to search them and stuff, so you just got to kind of get lucky to get the rebels.
He's almost good because you play him turn 2, right? And then you have a Brave creature, the next turn he'll be at 8,000 with Brave.
And you want to try to build him up a little bit and stuff like that.
And then if he dies, he unfreezes everything eventually, so that's good.
The card itself is good, but I think that it's a little bit hard because of the rebel.
My opinion is this is a card that goes in an already working Rebel deck or Final Fantasy II deck.
Doesn't exist.
It isn't a card that makes you want to play Final Fantasy II. It's if you have one, it's another nice card to have. So I don't think he's a great card, but I think he's a decent card. You play him in limited just because it's 3 for 7 with Brave, which is good, and maybe he does something else, so you play it. It's not like a spicy rare, but it's a good rare. It's above par rare. So, good card. I like all of its abilities. I just don't think it's super fancy. This card's been fun and limited.
Yep.
So this is 4 for 8, which is good, especially for ice. When it attacks, choose a forward they control, break it. So this is you get to play, it gets the block, and it gets to attack and kill their best card. Really good.
There's an interesting thing about this card, which in the pre-release that we played in, the ruling that we had was probably if he has no forward. If your opponent doesn't have any forward, it can't choose it. Therefore, the attack will just go through.
Yeah.
Yep.
He won't break.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. Additionally, in constructed, you could use Sabin, so he doesn't die when he attacks, which seems like a really strong effect. I don't know if there's enough there for you to play Ice, Fire, like that with those cards, but that's a cool effect to think about. Also, Titan can save him.
Yep.
So, cool card. Mostly kind of a limited, like, pseudo-bomb. But good limited card. Amric. He's actually my favorite Final Fantasy XIV character. I loved him in Heaven's Ward. I like his whole ethical struggle that he has in the game. It's really good.
Holy crap, his job type.
I really wish his job type wasn't that. It makes me want to die a little bit.
Commander of the Temple Knights.
Yeah, so that's dumb. He should be a knight. He should just be a knight. Whoever wrote that on the card, that's ridiculous. When I was telling people that they should have 2 types in this game, they should have an official, like, maybe 20 job types, like Thief, White Mage, Black Mage, core job types. And then they should have a specific type, like Seed or Esper or whatever. They told me there wouldn't be enough room on the cards. I just want to be like, dude, they wrote Lord Commander of the High Temple Knights. So, like, I'm right, and I don't want to hear your argument. It's silly. Okay, so what does he do? What he does is be worse than Cecil. This is his problem. So it's basically a 5/9K, which is fine. That's kind of what you want for your 5s if they're going to be fighter men, right?
Yeah.
Or fighter ladies. So he has Minwoo's ability built in, which means if you do 8 to him, that's doing 0. If you do 5 to him, that's doing 0. So that's good. Built-in Minwoo is good. Also, when he attacks, all the forwards other than Namric get plus 2,000. So that's a problem because he doesn't buff himself. So you kind of don't want to attack with him. And limited, it's a huge bomb.
Yeah.
It's not like a game-breaking bomb.
But it's good, though.
But it's a very good card. It's actually not much better than the Paladin, though, in most circumstances. You would draft him over Paladin, but, like, it's not really that big of a difference between how they interact in limited.
I wouldn't feel bad about it, though. I'd be like, yeah. I take this.
Yeah, so, but this is a good card. You always play it in limited. I don't really think it has a constructed home. I really don't, because you're just going to play Cecil.
Yep, you just...
He's better than Cecil, like, 20% of the time. So, I mean, but that's not enough. So I feel like this is a poorly designed card, unless they made it just for limited.
Which, as you were saying, they seem to have built this set to be more
for limited. But the problem is, you know, one thing I think people don't understand is this is a product, and people want to buy cards and get cool heroes. Now, I think this is a cool hero, and if you're new to the game, I think you'll be happy to open this card. But if you've been buying cards since Opus 2 and have a lot of cards, you just look at this and you're like, oh, this is not Cecil.
This is a hero card?
Yes, sir. I think
I'm a little bit disappointed.
I think it's worthy of being a hero card because of its power level, and for limited it needed to be. It's just like I said, it's basically an obsoleted card. So I like it and don't like it at the same time. So this is our second Al Cid in the game. He's from Final Fantasy XII. This card's insanely good, but he's named Al Cid, which is insanely bad to be named in this game because the other Al Cid's an evergreen card, very good. It's 3 for a backup. You get to choose 2 forwards opponent controls and duel them. Note, you must choose 2. It's not up to 2. You have to choose 2. So if you can't choose 2, it will not go off.
Yep.
So it's a really good card if you can choose 2. So this card's great in limited. You run it.
Yours?
No.
Does it say opponents?
Yes.
Yep. My bad.
So it's a really good card. Just be aware of that. So, you know, don't run more than 2 ever. But good card. Fun card. I like it. Just be careful. So this is Paul. He is the son of the Duke, and he is Moadib. And he costs 2 for 4, which is bad, right? Because 4 is really weak.
Yep. Everything
kills 4. But he can't be blocked by things that don't cost 2 or 1. And people don't play things that cost 1, really, and they don't really play things that cost 2. So he basically can't be blocked. Now, he's also a 2 and a thief, which I like that. I like that he's a thief. It's good. There's this bit of text at the bottom here, which I think you can read if you want, but I actually think you shouldn't read it. I think that if you look at this mill part of the card, you're going to be confused about the value of this card.
Yeah.
The value of this card is it does what the old Zidane used to do a bit more efficiently. Not get blocked and just be a little not get blocked guy. That's what this card does. He's a really efficient early attacker that then just blocks and gets killed or whatever, right? And that's fine. In Constructed, if you think you're going to mill people, you're not going to mill people. In the event that your mill deck is good, the environment will run 1 or 2 cards that ruin your deck. It's just not going to be a thing.
He's just too weak to be good in a dedicated mill deck.
There also isn't a dedicated mill deck in this game. It doesn't exist. It's a waste of your time to try to do it right now. If you want to mill people in this game, the best way is to be super slow and controlling.
Yeah.
And Shantoto them all the time. Bounce
or
your Shantotos.
Like Arcanus and, you know.
Yeah, that's the way to mill people in this game. There's no, and then like you can get up 1 or 2 cards with your Riku backups.
Yeah.
There's no reason that milling's bad. This card's good. Just ignore that bottom part. In limited, that bottom part is much better.
Yeah.
But you're still probably going to kill them before you mill them anyway. So it's like, I will say, though, in defensive mill, it's slightly better in this game than it is in Magic the Gathering. And it's not just because of the amount of cards in people's deck, although that's a big reason. But there's not as many ways yet to retrieve cards from your graveyard. You run 3 of things and not 4. So you actually can lose opportunities to play important things in this game, which matter much more in Magic because of those things. So in that regard...
And you also have to discard cards to play other cards.
Yeah, so you discard those opportunities, right? So in that regard, the mill matters.
A lot more in this game, yeah.
Yeah, not a lot, though, because it doesn't actually interact the board. It's just a potential of doing it. But, like I said, don't try to mill them, really. Just attack them and kill them.
Yeah.
But I do like the card. It's good. I'm going to try playing it a little bit. I like it. It's a fun card. So,
yeah.
This is the only thing I really wanted to open. And we did it. We did it, boys. We did it. Look at that. Oh my god, it's so pretty.
So good.
It's so pretty. Oh man, I love dragoons. So in Final Fantasy 11, I played a dragoon, even though everyone made fun of me. And no one would, oh, we were so bad. I know one would be my friend, but I stuck by it
no good.
because they're bigoted. It's not me. It's their bigotry. Okay, so this card's 5 for an 8, which isn't like blowing us away, right? We're like, where's our 9 at? And then we see Dragoon, and some of us go, yeah. Some of us roll our eyes. Different people. It's a first line of text if you control 5 or more backups, so that's probably future proofing for any potential weird thing that lets you play more backups. That was smart of them to do. It gains haste. So that's fine, but that's not enough for us to care. It also says, though, Pale Lighting, activate him. So untap him. He can attack once more this turn, and he uses ability twice a turn. Oh, and did I mention... Yes, once more. So twice in total. Also, if he's blocked, he kills the thing that blocked him. Kills it dead. Thing comes up to him. It's a 50,000 power dragon. It's dead. The 50,000 power dragon does not do any damage to him. He kills it because he's a dragoon. And we kill dragons because we're very powerful and fashionable.
Yeah, you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So he can do that. And so he's very hard to block because he basically has a Mateus on a stick. He just goes and pokes you with his Mateus stick. And he also has Nidhogg's eye in his damn hand. So, and if you're one of those people that don't know about Lord of the Rings too much because you only watch the movies, it kind of looks like the Eye of Sauron, which is a movie invention.
It does look like the Eye of Sauron.
It's not a real freaking thing. But you can go, oh, I see you.
Yeah,
like Lord of the Rings, the movie. If you want to.
Look at him. He kind of looks like,
this card makes me happy. This is the card they made to sell the set, right? Like, oh my god, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Buy packs to get this. Is what I recommend to you.
And if you don't want to open a foil one,
And here's Matt. So Matt is a beloved character from every Final Fantasy 11 fan knows Matt. Matt is the guy you have to beat to be max level, and he copies your job. So he has every job, and he does the same thing you do, and it was really annoying to beat him. I just recently beat him because I'm playing 11 again. But he's easy now because they make you too strong. But that's not the point. The point is, 6 for 8, again, where's our 9 at, right? That's what we say. So we want to know what he does. He makes it so monks and card name monks, because they have to do that because of their wording problem.
When they're smart.
Yeah. Forwards you control can't be dulled by opponent's summon abilities, which is Guy's ability, who's a monk. Is he?
He's a rebel.
He's a rebel. And that's a good ability to have. That's pretty much, don't ice me, bro, kind of ability. It's pretty strong. Pretty strong. Also, when it comes into play, you get to grab a monk from your deck, put it into your hand. Now, in this game, there's one monk in this environment that costs 3, I believe, just one.
Yeah.
So that card's decent. You'll definitely run it if you have Matt.
Yep.
You might run Matt anyway, just because you need more 8Ks, even if you can't do it, even though you don't want to.
Yeah.
But Sabin from Final Fantasy VI is a monk. Tifa is not a monk, although she's a monk.
She isn't,
Yeah, she isn't. Most of the other monks from Final Fantasy games are not monks.
Especially not Master Monk. How dare you?
Yeah, Master Monk, who has mastered being a monk, is not a monk. But there's a couple monks. There's Yang and Ursula.
Yep.
So the Yang Ursula combo is pretty good. And they have S abilities too.
Yep.
So that's good. So I think this is like a tier 3 casual monk deck is pretty good. Or I hate my friend who plays ice, get fucked. Monk deck is a thing. Also, I think red Earth monks is better than people think. Because Volker, and this is 11 and he's 11, and Volker's really good.
Volker is good.
And they're also going to probably print an 11 monk because in chapters they had actual Final Fantasy 11 job type cards.
Yeah.
So, this is a cool card. I like this card, well designed. I'm a little biased probably because I like Matt. So, he's in the BC&M circle and Gideus.
Yeah.
Warrior Light. Drew, you like this card. You love it. What does it do?
Well, let me tell you all about this card. So this card costs 6 for 7K. When it enters the field, you may choose a job standard unit of cost 2 or less. Could be a forward, could be a backup. Doesn't matter. And you get to return it from the break zone to play. So that's not bad. Virtually costs 4. And then when a job standard unit enters play, he gets plus 2,000. So this card is not bad. You get to return a backup, maybe a forward, to play, and then you get to attack with him later on as a 9K because you're going to play another job standard unit. He does have a special ability, which is 2 lightning, not 2 earth.
Yeah.
And until end of turn, all the forwards you control gain plus 3,000 in brave. So I think this card is okay. There's possible Warrior Lights deck this card could go into. Maybe.
You can play 4 or 5 different Warrior Lights cards in that deck. So that's pretty good. And problem is you can't play him in the standard units deck because you have to play the other Warrior Light, the blue one.
Yep.
He can put backups into play though.
Yep.
Which is actually pretty darn solid. And playing him for 4, so if you like pay 2, discard 2 cards, play him, put the backup into play. He gets the plus, but he doesn't have haste, so like it doesn't matter that he gets the plus, which is kind of a problem with the card. That's fine. You can pick up some of your standard units like Monk actually that breaks and stuff, so that's kind of good. He's cool, but I don't think he's quite designed well enough to fit in anything.
Yeah. I'd rather play Ingus from Opus 2. That was a 4-drop that lets you play a standard unit that's true drop or less
from your hand.
His S ability is insane though because he doesn't tap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
like it's really good. You get plus 3,000 in Brave.
Your whole field.
You get like an Alpha Strike that's safe. They can't even crack back, so you don't have to you're not even overcommitting. Unlimited, you play it like every time.
Yep.
I think that in like he's a Final Fantasy 1 card. I don't think you can build a 1 title deck yet. I don't know. I think this is the kind of card you should keep an eye on. This is a card you should keep thinking about, and it's going to find something. But I don't think it's there yet.
I think it's weak right now, but
it's a cool card. It is a cool card.
I do like.
So this card is just so beautiful.
I love it.
Like, I'm not a big Final Fantasy 8 guy, man, but the Amino 8 art just is awesome. This is just such a great card, too. It's basically Flicker, which is what they call it in Magic and some other games. Basically lets you, something's in play, and it leaves play real quick and comes back real fast. It has to dull it, which is the downside, but it can be something that was already dulled, so you don't care. But it basically lets you get all your enter the battlefield, your ETB effects again.
Which Ice has a lot of good ones.
Which is great. You get the Orphan again, you get the Genesis again, you get the Thaumaturge again, you get to do anything you want again. You know, it's enter the battlefield to Electric Bugaloo. So that's what this card does. And also, honestly, like this is
really good. I think with like
so
Lightning Ice also.
Yep.
With Edia, you know,
I'm a little annoyed at her card type. I know like she isn't 100% a seed candidate in the game. There's like some flavor reasons for that. But this is just a worthless card type. And also, if Resistance Fighters is a thing in the game, why aren't a lot of the 6 cards Resistance Fighters?
What would her standard Final Fantasy job be?
What is her? No, she's a Y mage in that game.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, 8 has not as super defined stuff because of the draw system.
Yeah.
But like because of her limit break stuff, heals and things. So she's a Y mage. I don't know what I type her as for sure, but I just don't like these generic non-working type things. But this is a great card, and this is one of the reasons why I love Final Fantasies is the cards can look like freaking this. This is a beautiful card, really cool effect. I'm glad it's in the game. Probably not the best that it's in Ice because Ice is already really good, but great card. Get your Renoas, make the enter the battlefield Electric Bugaloo joke to your friends. This card, new ability. We're getting Control Magic in this game. Control Magic, super fun in Magic. It's really good in Star Wars card game. I don't remember it in Versus, but I'm probably sure it was good there.
It's more like Threaten.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying Control Magic kind of effect, right? So, normally pretty good. This one lets you grab something that costs 6 or less, and you get it for 1 turn, and it doesn't get haste, and you don't get the attack with it, and you don't get the block with it, and then it's their turn.
And it's less than 7,000. His house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's 6,000.
And you're paying 5 for it.
And maybe it's a Waka. You have a Waka and you can grab a 7K. Ooh. So this card is terrible. It's incredibly bad design. One of the worst designed cards in the entire set. It's a Final Fantasy X type, which is relevant. Its job type's not relevant. Its name's not relevant. Its power's not relevant. Its CP is way too high. Its ability's not relevant. And it's really sad because it's a new ability to the game, which could have been really fun. Could have been a thing to get people to try. To play limited, all these cool effects could have been there. Maybe people want to buy the set for a new type, but they designed the card in such a way that it's not really useful, and you don't want to do anything with like Famfrit with it or anything because it's just too expensive. You don't want to do Kefka with it because that's just, what are you doing? That's just silly. Like, this is just a bad card.
You're just going to invest so much CP to kill something that doesn't matter.
I think this is the most disappointing card in the whole set to me. I think this is a card that should have been good and just isn't. So, get out of here. This card's great in limited.
Yep.
1 cost monster, pay 1, doll and freeze something. Doll and freeze and something's great. It's out for 2 turns. Cost 1, sacks for 1.
Yep.
It's just good. I mean, I don't know if you can play ice water monsters in the new meta, but if you get to do this and mirror out another one and mirror out another one, seems good. So, constructed playable? I don't know.
I play ice water, man.
Yeah, well, you lost though. Every single time you played. Every single.
Not every single time.
Not every single time.
With the wall monster deck.
Calm the fuck
With
down.
my monster deck.
Go fuck yourself.
No, I like this card. It's also a typo card, which typo matters how many typos are in play, right? Sometimes.
No.
Isn't like Diablos have to control typo forward, or is it?
No, it's
character?
It's the cadets.
Oh, it's
Specifically
cadets. Well, it's a good card. You play it limited. Mike, see playing constructed, super cheap, real efficient.
Yep.
Here's Snow. He's a monk, for example, but he's not a monk.
Is he? He isn't.
Yeah, he's a monk in all the game types except for Final Fantasy XI had the super specialized Sentinel Ravager Commando thing. But Sentinel in that game is like kind of the tank class, but he is a monk character-wise. He's high vitality, martial arts, handed fighter.
He's got gloves and everything.
Yeah, he's a monk. But he's not. He costs 3, 7. He's a Sentinel, sure. 13, which is a relevant type in this game. If you control a card named Sarah, it gets plus 1,000. So won't get that in this set for sealed or anything. It could in multi-draft. There are good Sarah cards in constructed that see play. There's also a backup that's decent.
Yep.
If you control a Final Fantasy 13 forward other than it, it gets plus 1,000 power. This is a card that has really positive effects and gets cheap and is cheap and gets big, but is only really going to see play in sometimes limited and then in title. There's no reason to play in constructed, even if you guaranteed have Viscera, because it's just a big card that doesn't do anything. It's just not good enough. I mean, like, I don't really care if it's a 9K, like, that's nice. But I mean, like, ice taps your stuff and makes you discard, so just, I don't know. Just, it's good in title.
I think it could still be good because the 2-drop backup Sarah gives him can't be targeted by abilities.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a good point. That's a really good point. If you're doing that, that's fine. But I mean, like this. I mean, I could play Kuja, or I could have just played the normal Sarah, made you discard a card.
Yeah, that's true.
So or I could have played my.
Those other cards just have more synergy.
I could have played my Sid and got a lock, or played lock, but instead I played this. So, I mean, why did you make me do that? So you see what I'm saying? Like,
I'm trying to trick you.
So this card
is horrible.
Is what they gave to red. So if you're somebody sitting there saying like, Miles, you're wrong. They make red cards just fine. This is what they gave you guys. Don't let them do that to you. Stand up for yourself. So he's a king. So there is a king type, even though other things are lords or whatever. He's Dark Lord. He's not even darker, and he's not a lord. He's a red. He should be called Red King. So he's from FF Crystal Chronicles. So if you're one of those kids that lie and say that you got to play it on GameCube with 4 Game Boy Advanced, then you'll excited to see this card. I never got to do that because I didn't have, I had Mitchell. But you were a noob and never had any good games to play.
I went to play with you anyway. Don't like it.
Yeah, I know. This is my best friend, by the way, in the whole world. So here's the field, and you have to remove the top 10 cards of your deck. So you probably have like 40-something, 43, 44 cards in your deck when this happens. Now you have 30-something cards in your deck when this happens. So that sucks. The second part is really good. At the beginning of your attack phase, choose 1 forward, deal 3,000 damage. That's freaking awesome. That's amazing. I'm not going to pay 10 cards on top of my deck for it. Unless my deck is just this smoke and this fast and this shit in the goddamn world. That's a lot of curse words. Kids, don't curse. I don't know, man. I kind of want to just be like, yeah, play it, No, I like the second ability so much. And 3 for 8, I like it so much. I want Red to just be like, yeah, we can actually get in there and do it. But I feel like...
Why didn't they make it a 9K at least? Come on, you have to remove 10 cards.
I feel like this card just doesn't make any sense. I feel like it has to have haste. You need to have someone... Like, it need to be Red, Lightning, Alua, 2-drop Ramza. I'm attacking you. Let's go deck for this to work. And maybe someone can build that somehow and do it and win 40% of the time and feel good about it. But yeah. Don't play this in Limited, by the way. If you don't know why, I mean,
No, just make your deck like 50 or 60 cards.
no, we're done.
You can't do 60
We're
card
done.
decks.
Foil Hilda. Just wanted to show you how pretty she was.
50s?
So this is a hero, actually. This is Chiral, not the Final Fantasy V one. This is another character named that from 14. So she's a Scion. This is her most relevant ability, being a Scion, a backup. This is tap 2. You can't unsummon something. I don't think that's a great ability. It won't matter that much. It's there if you need it. Scion deck got a 2-drop backup. That's kind of yeah. So it's a thing.
Yeah.
So unlimited, it's fine. You play it if you have to. It's fine, but not a very flashy card. No one super cares unless they like the character or a Scion player. But Scion players are happy. Okay, so this guy will knock you all down.
I've heard that.
Yep, so this is the main bad guy of Final Fantasy 1. It's also in Final Fantasy 9, but he's a category 1, 5 for a 9. So we like that. That's what we want to get. He's a knight, very relevant job type.
Yep.
Because knights can get +1 super easy. They can be untapped super easy. You can like search for knights. Knights are good. If you control a job prince, the job knight for or princess.
Yep.
This game's sexist. Can't capture a prince. But if you can capture a princess, job knight forwards, you control Brave, which is awesome. All you guys having Brave is super good. The princess from his game isn't in the game yet, so you can't capture her. But if you capture any other princess, Hilda, if you have Hilda or Avelia, which you will have if you're playing Water Knights, because she's a princess.
Claudine.
Yeah, but so then like that's all really
You can
good.
also get Garnet, right? Garnet's a princess too, right?
Yeah. So water or fire.
Yeah.
So the problem is a lot of the really good knights are also in lightning because of Ramza, you know. But I feel like
and then Delita in Earth.
the problem is like okay, so you get all that. You guys have Brave. You have a pretty good Garland. And then you need to run more Garlands to make this card good because his first ability doesn't tap, so that's awesome. It's Blaze. It's choose 1 forward, do it 7,000 damage. That's pretty solid, right? 7,000 isn't a lot, but that's a lot to make anything also win or kill a techie thing. That's pretty good. And there's other Garlands that are knights, by the way, that aren't bad.
Yeah.
So you can run other Garlands in your deck. The next ability is Round Edge, which is good. That's a classic Garland move, so good flavor there. Choose 1 forward, break it, deal 5,000 to all the forwards opponent controls. That's awesome. You know, you don't need to know a lot about this game to know that's awesome. Basically lets you kill something else, then win combat, trick with something else to trade up or whatever. That's amazing ability. Problem is, I just think playing Water Lightning is better for the Knights deck. And then like Delita is an Earth.
Yep.
And so it's hard to play this Garland. I think this is a good card with a lot of cool abilities. It's designed in a fun way.
Yeah.
And maybe it's really good in title. I don't know if one can fully be a title deck, but you know, in the event that it is. And you obviously play this in limited just because the numbers, you know, regardless of its text. But I think it's like a miss from being a good constructed card at the moment.
Because Fire, Water, Knights.
I think you still might try running it and stuff like that, but forego like having so many Knights.
If you play this deck as Water, Fire, I'm sure it's a tier 3 deck. It's pretty decent. You can beat your friend with it. I think that it just doesn't have a great matchup against some stuff and is just probably a worse version of the deck. But it's a cool card. I like the card.
And it's a foil.
The foil looks good. You know, it's a legend. Pretty solid legend. I feel like this is a legend-worthy card.
Yep.
So I like it, even though I don't think it's great. But it's the kind of card that things could always change.
Is this the first card with 2 S abilities?
No, Light Cloud.
Light Cloud, forgot.
So this is Kain, one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters. Kain, you know, is supposed to be Cecil's best friend, but he betrays him because of Golbez, and then he doesn't betray, and then, oh no, he betrays you again. But then he doesn't anymore. And he's a Dragoon. He's like the first major Dragoon of Final Fantasy, so he's kind of like our patriarch. 3 for a 9k Dragoon, so everyone's happy right there. But they play a Dark forward, then they get him. So, yeah, when a Dark forward you control is put from the field in the break zone, your opponent gains control of him. So the problem with this card is when they play Dark Emperor or Camelot, they get your Kain. So
this is not a constructed card.
You can play this card in limited and just.
Oh, it's great in limited.
It's great in limited unless you're multi-limited and there's more dark cards. In this limited, they have to play.
But even then,
well, sure, you still play it. You just hope that they don't get it.
Yeah, it's just unlikely. I think you play this card.
If you're playing best 2 or 3, I don't know if they let you side it out, then side it out the next games. If they have a Nidhogg or something. It's good when it's good, and it's bad when it's bad. He's a Dragoon. I think you maybe run one of him, and some, you know, and Dragoons maybe.
No. Just run 3 of the cane.
Oh, that's true because he's a cane. Yeah, this card's a miss, really.
Yes.
Also, flavor fail. There is no Dark Golbez in the game, so he can't follow Golbez. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing's like, oh, I'll betray you for Golbez, but he can't. So here's the other cipher card that works with Orajan, and then Legendary Cipher, which we have not pulled. Lets you search your Cipher, EX Burst, and give Cipher first strike when it's your turn, which makes Cipher extra good. This card's really solid because it's 3-drop EX tutor that has an extra ability. Downside, it's only Cipher, but Cipher's super good.
Yep.
Cipher can always get better in the future with new ciphers, so this card will probably be around as long as Cipher matters. So really good for that. Great in title, and play it in limited if you have a Cipher. I would even play it in limited if I had the bad Cipher, just because, like I said, play backups. Play a backup to let you get a card. You just play a lot of the time, even if they're not good, just because you're getting cards and playing backups. But not great in that obvious scenario. But good card for constructed. Here's Nidhogg. He is the big bag dragon from Final Fantasy XIV. His head is facing up, by the way. I know he looks like one of those prickle bush things, like in Arizona.
He's not.
Sweet cost 9. Sweet cost everything you've ever owned in terms of CP. And you're paying a 1-to-1 ratio in CP, which is terrible. So, terrible 9 for a 9K. So the text has to be insane because 9 for a 9K is a terrible ratio.
Yeah.
So when he enters the field, your opponent randomly removes 1 card from their hand for the game. That's fine. It's just 1 card, though, and it's random. So maybe it's their Hecton Share, but maybe it's their extra monk that they didn't need in their hand. You know? So that's a hit or miss ability. When enters the field, choose 1 forward. Opponent controls removed from the game. That's really good, but I feel like we paid 9 mana to maybe do something good to their hand. For sure do something good, and then just get a 9K. I think in almost all scenarios, this card's worse than Camelot.
Yep.
I don't think this card will likely see constructed play.
Yep.
I feel like this card absolutely needed to be a 12K. I think it was a design miss, and I think they'll probably sell less cards because people aren't going to want to try to open Nidhoggs, especially casual players who would have loved a 12K with 2 good abilities. So I think this card is a design fail. And
it reminds me of Sephiroth from Opus 1.
Yeah, I mean, like, you play this card in limited because it's just huge and you're happy with it. But I think the chances that this is good and constructed are just very low.
Yes.
It's a fun card, but it's just disappointing.
Yep.
So that's my opinion on that. Do better. So here's Maria. Huge downside with this card. Way too cute looking. People need to focus on the game, and that's not good. Second problem is name Maria. That's a big problem because Maria's the best win backup, most played win backup, and you want to play Maria. This card has 3 abilities, and that's cool. 2 for 5 is fine, 3 abilities, but like still, even though you just,
I don't even think they're that good of abilities though. So.
Okay, but the first ability is choose a category 2 for it, other than Hurricanes plus 2,000 power. That's a bad ability. Obviously, it's good in the 2 deck. If you're playing wind, which I don't even know if you actually are, because I think water.
I think I was thinking water fire.
That's my problem, right? Like, okay, so that's like whatever. And limited, it's probably not even a thing. Her second ability is fine. It does the dancer backup ability. That's fine. I see that as pretty good. There's a lot of lightning wind stuff you can do with that together. That's like okay. Barbarisha.
Yeah, you can do some combos with
that's
it.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, that's
last ability is pay a wind, tap it, choose 1 forward. During the next turn, prevent 3,000 damage to something, which is actually really good. It helps you win all trade combats, protect yourself from damage and stuff. I think the last ability is the best one by far. You pay mana for it, so I like the card, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Again, I think if this is gonna see play, it's basically because you're using the second ability and comboing with other stuff.
Yeah.
And the third ability is there sometimes. I don't think the first ability matters. I don't think it matters that it's a 2 card.
I mean, if you're really thinking about using the second one, I mean, why don't you just use your Stola instead?
Because it's still all of them.
Yeah.
So you have I mean, or you need both of them. I don't think it's great. I just think that it has 3 abilities, and so it has potential. Art looks great.
I like the art. Yeah.
Great for title.
I actually want it, so
yeah, you got it. So here's Scott, leader of the X-Men. 3.
Also model.
Also a model. 3 for 4.
Oh, there's the prince. That's what.
Yeah, he's a prince. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he has the knight ability, the 2-drop knight, who's really good. That doesn't count as a knight. For each backup you control, it gets plus 1,000 power. If you control Hilda, Scott, and the card named Gordon you control get Brave. So Gordon getting Brave is irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's a pretty much 98% of the time. Who gives it? Doesn't matter.
Nope.
This card's like decent. It's decent. It's worse than Knight. It being a prince is pretty good because you can untap it and stuff, but I mean, you play this unlimited every time. No, you play this unlimited 80% of the time. Unless it's in draft and you actually drafted a good water deck.
Yeah.
It's a 2 card. It's just like kind of like... This is like I said, a C- card, you know?
Yeah. It can get big, but like
it's a prince.
I think Knight's better because you get bring it back with Lena.
Yeah. It's just a bad night, and Prince doesn't matter enough. I mean, not the singer. The singer's awesome. But, yeah. Okay, put him up there. Talk about him.
He was the card that we were talking about.
Yeah, we talk about him a lot.
Yep.
He's a really cool design card. He basically, lets you tap your mana for anything, which if you're playing the sealed rules, we have to pay backups, but things tap for normal. He's really good. Yeah. He's like insane in that limited environment. He's a king. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. He gets +1 for each character you control, which includes forwards and monsters. So he'll be pretty big. I think the problem with him is he's a build-around card, but there's no other card that does that, so you can't really trust building around him, you know?
No.
I like this card. I want to see what people do with it. I think there'll be fun effects, but I just don't think that it's great. I think it's fun. I'm happy they made it. The art looks good. It's pretty solid in some limited environments. It's terrible in the draft rules, though.
Yeah,
Although, I mean, it could be like a 5 or 6K,
yeah.
but I'd rather just play a 3-7K, to be honest with you.
I'd play around with it.
Yeah, I mean...
That's it. That's what it is.
It's a fun card to play around. Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of casual decks that's good with this, and one day someone will do something. It's good with Cactar. Try it out, guys. This is the new...
it's the other one.
Yeah,
for Dark.
Of Materia.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It costs too much.
It costs too much. I mean, you can already play Camelot to get other things.
I kind of wish it was like a 3-drop. I think it might have been a little bit better if it was.
It's just, this card just doesn't matter. I feel like no one's going to play this card. You're only going to play it limited if you have a Nidhogg or something. It just, this is a waste of time. It just doesn't matter. That's how I feel about the card. It's kind of irrelevant. Drew looked at it finally. This card is beautiful art, as everyone has noticed.
Yep.
I really like this card. This Minfilia. She has one pretty big downside, is that she's worse in the Scion deck than the other Minfilia, who they pretty much have to run. So that's kind of unfortunate. But if you're not a Scion deck, I think it's really good. I had her in Limited. She was amazing in Limited. Just because she costs a virtual 2 and she lets you basically discard 2 cards from your hand for 2 cards in your graveyard and be a 2-drop backup. Which is pretty much what she does. That's how you should read her. And that's a really good effect. That's a great effect, especially if you're a player that can plan ahead and you kind of anticipate what you want in your hand. And then, you can break light or dark characters with her. The problem is she can't break Emperor.
She can't break Emperor, and
she probably can't break Camelot on most occasions. Which is just really unfortunate. They kind of can't play a Camelot sometimes if this is right out there, unless they plan it, but they might grab a Camelot with their Camelot if they see that. So
I think if they do that, though, I'd be okay with it, because then I kill their first one, then they have to play their second one. They just spent a lot of time.
Yeah, but you spent 3 mana in the Minfilia, so it's not nothing.
And then you play your Minfilia again?
Sure, maybe, but it's not a great play. It's just a decent play. Unless the board, its removal from the board is relevant.
Yeah.
I do like this card, though. I do wish that they print at the bottom that this ability can't be countered by state-based effects, so it could,
That doesn't work, because not countering, it just can never be activated because of Emperor.
They could have worded this in some way that made it so that Emperor didn't kill it.
Yeah,
It's not. This card is unaffected by
There's some
passive abilities,
or they could have made it so it's not an activated ability. It's just something where like you have
it was
to
not
pay 3, and it just says like
beginning of your main phase you can
pay 3. Yeah, so I'm saying so it's like a state-based trigger. I think if they did that, it would have been good for the meta because people don't like Emperor much. I don't like to whine about it. I don't really care. I only whine about job types. Other people whine about the meta. I whine about job types. But some people would like to kill emperors, So I think it would have been good. But still, beautiful card, fun card, good addition to the game. Might go in some grindy Shantoto decks like Drew likes to play. So, Drew, you like this card. I played Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
I do like that card.
I don't really super remember this guy. Probably should, but whatever.
Let me tell you, I like playing Wind. And sometimes I play Mono Wind. And I really am looking forward to trying this card out and putting a 5-drop Bartz into play.
What did you first say when you saw this card,
What the hell does it say? So long.
I think I said hum. I think
I like that they all have little quotes.
Yeah. Turned my nose way up.
Yeah, so he cost 7.
He does cost 7.
Oh boy.
That is quite a lot. But you do get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck.
Okay.
And choose a Wind character that costs 5 or less and put into play.
So you want to live the dream with Bartz.
You want to live the dream with Bartz.
Yeah.
You could do things with Kane Senna if you were going for that also.
Well, if you're playing this, you're playing Kane Senna,
yeah,
right?
if you're doing that. So that's cool.
I think the one problem with that, though, is Kane Senna deck searches for her all the time, so she's always in play because she never dies. So then you hit her, and then it's like, oh no.
Yeah, well then you just put your Bartz into play, or you get put them.
Or maybe you just don't play this card when you have Kane Senna out. So there's that option too.
Yeah, I like this card quite a bit.
And its last ability is pretty good.
Yes.
It's pay Earth, put it into the break. Yeah, a win. Put it in the break zone. Choose one forward during this turn. The next damage it deals to a forward becomes 0. So basically, one thing can't fight and is weak until they lose combat. Right.
Right. The only thing I don't like about that is.
It breaks?
That's a little. No, I'm okay with that because then I could play another one.
Sure.
But that affects a little weak because so many things in this game can't be targeted by abilities. So you can't target there like Zidane.
Well, so many things. A vast majority of cards can be targeted, but yes, some good things can be targeted.
Yeah, but a lot of good things can't be targeted.
And even a minority of those things
with this card. So it's all right.
I think it's a cool card.
I think that last ability is fine.
It's a cool card.
Like the first
it's also an FF TA2 card, you know, so that's relevant. That's all of our stuff? No, we got some more stuff.
We got one more.
Oh, we got one more pack even. Okay, so this is Mont Blanc. He's a hero. You might be surprised by that. He's a Moogle, an FF Tactics Advance 2 Rift of the Gilmore card. And he says, so he's a pretty decent ability, really. You pay a red, and you get to do 2 plus X, where X is the number of forwards you control. FFTA forwards you control. I mean, I had him in Steel twice, and he never was really able to do more than Shock, just do 2, which didn't matter in any moment particularly, but it's decent. I feel like in Title, this card is insane. It's just insane in Title. You're just like destroying people in Title with this card. But I feel like in Constructed, the Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 deck is not quite there. It's kind of good. It's tier 3, lower tier 2.
There's 2 problems. The first problem is that
3 color.
Is your 2 really good forwards are in 2 other colors. And
you have to play Wind because Luso is green,
a weak card.
Yeah, he's
weak.
Yeah.
So you don't want to play him, but you're forced to. So
this card is a good card.
I do like
it doesn't mean it has a home and an effective strategy, but it's still a good card.
Yeah.
I am a little surprised it's a hero.
Yeah.
I think you can argue it had to be a hero because of power scaling issues, but actually
in limited, yeah.
I think that's more true for drafts or drafts of multi-packs than it would have been a problem. Here's Cypher. I love this card. Like I said, I'm not a I'm kind of an anti-Final Fantasy VIII guy, so I'm biased against it, but I like it. So yeah, like we said before, he has friends. You can see his friends. Okay, so Cypher, 3 for 6, so not great. Final Fantasy VIII, Amino Art. He's a seed candidate. Here's why he's really good. When he blocks or is blocked, so when he's in combat, choose 1 forward opponent controls. It loses 2,000 power. It doesn't have to be the one he's fighting. It can be any one you want. So basically, he wins fights with 7 Ks, and can win or trade with 8 Ks.
Yep.
Unless he's attacking with Fusion to play, then he has first strike, then he wins with 8 Ks. If they choose not to block him, he does a little Cyclops, so -2 to their whole board. So that's really great. So many tricks you can do with this, especially when lightning. I really recommend you try this card out. I've been using it. It's great. It's amazing.
It's super effective.
It's amazing with Diablos, 5-drop Diablos.
Yeah.
Because they basically can't block you with 5Ks because they know what's going to happen. Because you can kill the 5K and then
5-drop.
The 5-drop, yeah, and then give something 1 power and then kill it with Cypher. So like they can't engage with 5-drop.
Yeah.
Combat with Cypher.
That card's been quite strong.
Yeah, he's very good. I've been so happy with him. Plus, he gets haste really easy. You can play him off Al Cid, you know. I've been loving this card. So, I don't know if we missed any cards, but that's our box opening, so we tried to be thorough. If we did miss any cards... Hertzberger. So, Hertzberger is a 6 cost?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 cost, 9,000 power light dragon, and it has 3 modes. One of them is you get to take a forward or a character from your break zone and put it into your hand, which is what you normally choose. Or you can mill yourself 5 and you blinding angel them for a turn, so they can't attack you for 1 turn. And its last ability is stupid. What does it do? It's
I don't even remember. What
who cares? You mostly use the draw a card abilities, so you pay like 4 for a 9K.
Yeah.
Virtual 4 for a 9K. So that's pretty good. And limited is a pretty good card. Probably not constructed playable. Maybe if you know it or something. Maybe if the water light deck is a thing again. Decent card though.
Yeah.
Good and limited.
We're missing the Zidane card also.
Oh, Zidane.
Yeah.
Zidane is so good, guys. So we don't have one here, unfortunately. But this is what he does. He costs 4. He's a 7K. Obviously Final Fantasy 9. And he can't be targeted by abilities. Right?
Yes.
So that's super good. Also, when he attacks, not when he hits them, but when he attacks, you get to look at their hand, pick a creature out of it, and they have to discard one of their forwards.
They have to, discard that forward.
And then when they do, either through this effect or any discard effect, you get to untap a wind character. It's been errata. You may see one that says untap a character. That's actually a wind character.
Yeah.
But this is super good because this means he can basically have Pseudo Brave if you want. You can get some mana speed to untap your backups if you want. You can pick things out of their hand are really good. It makes Chaos Walker the wheel better because you can see their hand. So even if they have a forward, you might know it's something kind of janky, you know, and kill their Zemus or whatever they have as big. The card is really good.
Yeah. I was actually thinking of partnering up with Wind Water and actually doing Leviathans like I did in the pre-release because when they bring out big forwards or something that you feel like you're gonna struggle with, you attack with Zidane, Leviathan that card up back into their hand, and then you make them discard it. You technically killed it.
It's one of the best first turn plays you can do because then
I've been first turning it a bit.
Because then they don't want to let you keep attacking and getting the forwards out of their hand. But if they play a big forward, then you can do a battle trick to kill it or return it to the hand and then attack it and then just remove it or remove the other one. It's just brutal.
You also know what's in their hand.
Yeah,
you know, like, he's a very good card. So I think that's pretty much everything. If we did miss something, we're sorry, and you can post in the comments if you want to know our opinion on anything. But it's almost midnight here at Geeky Villain in Seattle, so we're pretty excited to buy our boxes. I know we bought a case, you know, which is a lot of cards, but we're excited for this set. We're excited for the future of the game. You know, and if you guys are in the Seattle area, make sure you come up to Geeky Villain. It's in Everett. It's a really great shop. We have league tournaments up here, which are really fun. So you can come every week and you can get points and win prizes. Drew here won the first league, and he got a belt, like a wrestling belt. And then I won the second league, and I got a sealed copy of Final Fantasy 1, which is awesome. And I also got a trophy. Steve hasn't won yet, but he's been real close. He's been like second or third twice. I got second. He's a little bitter, but it's okay because he's gonna take it this next time. But yeah, we got a good group of people up here. We get like 15, 20 people, sometimes more for events, and you get to hang out with Drew and see Steven and tolerate me. So if you guys are in the area, come check it out. And like I said, if you have any more questions or comments, or if you're angry at us, or you're mad that I made fun of Final Fantasy VIII, feel free to post.
You love Cypher?
I do. Feel free to post hate or positive comments in the videos. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.